Part 335. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3355. Haha, as expected, I asked you why your boy is so similar to Beezy. He is actually the old shameless son. The father and son are so similar that they are both shameless. They sneak attack on other people's clones and family members. Tisk tisk. It seems that the old man has to do it again. I will do justice for heaven and send you, father and son, to hell. Hai Tian laughed ferociously. You. Very good. Very good. Hai Tian, I accidentally found the culprit of my father's disappearance that year, so I can't keep you. The faceless being roared and rushed towards the sea and sky. In fact, it is impossible for strong people to be so excited. No matter how excited you are, you will never turn into a mindless charging type. He estimated that Hai Tian would have to deal with the current battle situation, and being in an excited state would make Hai Tian look down on him. After killing this master who was Jia Yan's right-hand man in the intelligence, it will be easier to deal with Jia Yan. The entire Galaxy Chamber of Commerce cannot be without Jia Yan, so as long as they can get rid of Jia Yan, their huge interests in this area will also be obtained. Even if they are operated properly, it is not impossible for the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to fall into their hands. Matter. After all, the current composition of the Galactic Chamber of Commerce is composed mostly of local members, in addition to people from the Galactic Trading Area. As long as they join as people from the periphery of the galaxy, it shouldn't be a big problem for local people to accept it. After all, the creatures in the other world don't know anything about the Milky Way. As long as they pretend to be people related to the Milky Way, the creatures in the other world will at most think that it is an internal conflict in the Milky Way. As long as their advanced life can be maintained, it has nothing to do with them. Thinking of this, the faceless creature became even more excited. Death to the enemy who killed his father. He roared and threw himself at Hai Tian, his movements chaotic. But among the chaotic movements, there is a silver needle hidden deeply. This silver needle is only a few hundred meters in size. Don't think it is very big. For creatures like them that can easily reach tens of kilometers, the speed of this needle it's hard to notice quickly. Senior, be careful. The Black God clone took action just in time. His subspace cracked in front of the opponent, releasing a blast of explosives. With the rumbling sound, the silver needle was blown away, and the faceless creature also stumbled away into the distance. You. The expression of the faceless creature suddenly became gloomy, and the crazy attitude just now disappeared. Thank you, Jia Yan. Hai Tian calmly looked at the broken needle in the sky that was broken into two parts. There was a large amount of liquid pouring out, which turned out to be something poisonous. If replaced by ordinary poison, it would naturally be nothing to the masters of the lower level of Domain Lord, but the method used by a person of the same level made even Hai Tian shudder, and he almost got hit just now. You kid, it's easy to say you're shameless. I didn't expect you to be even more shameless than your damn dad. Let me do justice for God. Hai Tian pulled out a beam of energy from his palm, and shot it in front of the faceless creature like lightning. The faceless creature is naturally not easy to deal with. Although he was intercepted by using poison, his actual combat power cannot be underestimated. In addition, when Hai Tian fights, he must always be on guard against the opponent's insidious methods. It was a tie for a while. Chiao, you get out of here first and I'll help you. The Black God Jia Yan ordered his daughter to leave. Because there was an extra expert to help him, the battle situation was much safer. Jia Makiao knew that his strength was far inferior, so he could only nod in agreement. As the daughter flew back, getting further and further away, even the Space Master tried to separate his clone several times to stop her, but was interrupted by the Black God's clone with all his strength, and now the battle situation became even more chaotic. He went all out to exert the power of world creation and formation power, coupled with the explosives that exploded from the subspace from time to time, making the subspace masters disgraced. Moreover, the ape clone was still helping on the side. The two originally belonged to the same person and had the same nature and intention, so no matter what movements they made, they worked together as if they had the same hands and feet, and the opponent fell into a kind of speechlessness. This clone is not too strong, but it is very annoying. With 1 against 2, he became anxious for a moment. On the other side, the battlefield between Haitian and the faceless creatures is even more grand. From time to time, large amounts of flying sand and rocks would shoot out, causing large tracts of forest to stagger. This place is not too far from Xiancheng. Countless people felt the movement here and rushed to the area with greatly changed expressions. However, they were blocked from the battle circle by such a terrifying force. Is it the mysterious incoming force from last time again? No, the energy fluctuations in this fight are very different. What is going on in our Xiancheng? There are always masters coming to attack. It's too dangerous. I looked at a house in the countryside last time. I'll arrange for my family to move there later. Although this Xian city is full of flowers, God knows one day it will be captured by the enemy. It's not that I don't believe in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. But you cannot put your family's safety at risk. Similar thoughts were the thoughts of many people who observed this battle. If the people's ideas were not so extreme when experts came to destroy them in the past few times, the aftermath of this confrontation was greater and lasted longer, indicating that even the experts of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce in Xian City were unable to defeat each other in a short time. It seems that there will be danger in Xiancheng, and it is by no means alarmist. People with a little bit of conditions are beginning to think about how to settle their families and property. But this will cause financial and public security problems in Xiancheng, and even create a vicious cycle. This is the so-called influence of the strong. The appearance of a strong person may be a random event, but the subsequent financial and political storm is definitely not a random event. As long as someone comes to cause trouble, there will definitely be market reaction. Maybe the strong ones were just beaten away, but if the situation in Xiancheng is serious, it may lead to financial collapse. Of course, these are all subsequent reactions. At least for now, it still depends on the outcome of the battle between several masters. If Xiancheng loses, everything will stop, there will be no financial problems, and the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce may not even exist. Puff. A crisp sound. The ape clone spat out a mouthful of blood and was knocked backwards from the battle group's smoke. You are separated, do you still want to show off? In the center of the battlefield filled with war clouds, millions of kilometers of land were filled with flying sand and rocks, and the subspace master's voice sounded as cold as ice. Hey, who knew that a clone can't do it? Come again. The ape clone wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, regained his composure and shot in again. Even a defense master like him was injured, which shows that the enemy's strength is unprecedentedly powerful. But what surprised the ape clones was that he and the Black God clone joined forces to fight against the enemy. Even though he, the master of defense, was injured, the Black God clone was still struggling to hold on inside. It looked very difficult, but unlike him, there wasn't even a scratch. It's really scary. Among the several clones, he is indeed the strongest. The ape clone sighed. He defeated several lower-level domain lords and considered himself the strongest. Unexpectedly, the strongest had his own strong opponent, and the Black God clone just didn't take action. Don't think too much, I'm going to use that move next to help block him. The Black God's clone was left and right. It looked like he was not injured, but he was in a very embarrassed state. The two clones were fighting back and forth, and they could no longer bear it, and each other gradually increased their strength. A fight between strong men can easily turn into a protracted war. Because at the later level of Territory Lord, every strong man will make up for his own strengths and weaknesses, and eventually he will become a hexagonal warrior. No one has shortcomings, so the battle will not be so beautiful. Because it takes a long time to fight anyone. But in theory, they can only deal with the two clones who are at the weakest level of the ordinary domain lords. To actually fight for such a long time with a strong person who is also a powerful person in the latter domain lords is really impressive. Hai Tian easily suppressed the faceless creature, his expression also looked a little surprised. He was planning to launch another explosive seed attack when one of the two clones was killed or injured. Otherwise, his identity as a ticket holder will be revealed. After all, if he can defeat such an enemy without relying on violence, his strength is too advanced. But he didn't expect that these two clones could fight against such masters. What's the status of that guy's true form? For a moment, Hai Tian, who easily suppressed the enemy, flashed Jia Yan's true form in the depths of his mind, and he couldn't help but think about it. His original intention was to find a temporary shelter in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce before everything was exposed. When he had to take action, he would leave the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce and go to Dispute Opportunity. But under his nose, Jia Yan has grown more and more in the past few decades. Recently, he has been working on some big projects. He is not even willing to take action on such big scenes, which means that if it is completed, his strength will be further improved. Is it possible to let him join my opportunity project? But for a child with such progress, if we give him dozens or hundreds of years, will his strength continue to grow, and even I will be swallowed up by him. Haitian doesn't want to do anything like seeking skin from a tiger. But he still couldn't help but think about it. He no longer had any friends of the same rank, and even if he still had some friends he could contact, they might be even more unkind than Jia Yan, and it didn't matter when he would be sold. And now it seems that this person really feels like a natural ally. That's all. After this fight, I'll test him again to see what his intentions are. I'll also see how fast he's growing up this time. Hai Tian made up his mind. His rebirth from death actually enhanced part of his strength, but more importantly, after making up for the weakness caused by age, his strength returned to its peak. He is the all-powerful star thief, and his own strength is naturally not at the level where he could only tie with one of the 6 masters. And in this way, if you can be supplemented by a powerful being, you will definitely have more confidence in the future, and you will have more conditions to face challenges. You old thing. What are you distracted by? Are you looking down on me? The faceless creature suddenly shouted. Oh? You're still here. Sorry, I was distracted just now. Come on, kid, let's continue. Hai Tian was stunned for a moment, then quickly smiled and regained his composure, fighting the faceless creature that rushed forward. The opponent almost cried. He finally saw that Hai Tian was pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger. There is a huge gap between his own strength and Haitian. However, as both are masters of the lower level of Territory Lord, he can see that Haitian has not reached the lower level of Tianlu. Even if Haitian is strong, he is still at the middle level of Tianlu. However, at a roughly similar level, he cannot thinking that Hai Tian can defeat him easily. So Mai Mei is not discouraged. Even if she doesn't avenge her father, she still has to find ways to consume Hai Tian's fighting power. The two sides even entered into a fierce battle, and they were inseparable for a while. On the other hand, the two clones were in a desperate situation. After all, they are just two clones, and the advantages of the clones cannot be well reflected in the other world environment. Their own realms are quite different, and their abilities are severely restricted by subspace masters. If they are not defeated in an instant, the experience of the real body is already playing a huge role. Good guys, these two clones of you are really surprising, very strong. You haven't fully seen the strong place yet. The Black God clone let out a breath and pinched his daughter's necklace. The necklace has no power, but it is a magic weapon made using the unique skills of the real body. In addition to bursting out with powerful power to save the family at critical moments, it actually has a greater use, that is, it can instill a lot of power. Energy. As for energy, as Jia Yan's clones, they are almost infinite. As long as the real body is still providing them, they can stay at their peak state at all times. But this necklace can increase the strength by a small amount. The instant explosive power of the necklace itself reaches the power of an ordinary blow of Jia Yan's true body. Therefore, the Black God clone not only uses the array for offense and defense from time to time, but also often stops to replenish the energy of the necklace. Anyway, as long as the real body doesn't stop the supply of power, he will die today. Who made that guy not show up at such a critical moment? They simply don't regard their clones as human beings. And my daughter is theoretically still in danger. Dad, are they okay? Jia Makiao has used all her physical strength to rush on the road, but her own half-star primary power is at a level that can be easily killed by the aftermath of the current battle, so she has to constantly look for it along the way. In the bunker, dived into it before the crisis came, which slowed down her escape speed. If I had known earlier, I would have practiced harder. She patted her thigh angrily, as if to cheer herself up. Whoosh, the figure rose again and flew towards Xiancheng in the distance. To a semi-star level person, Xiancheng seems to be very close at hand. Even the words Xiancheng on the city gate are shining brightly in front of our eyes. However, if we really want to fly, it will be difficult to reach. The world here is really too big. Who? Several masters suddenly appeared in front of them. They wore clothing with the logo of Suankan's law enforcers on them. They were obviously the special law enforcement team from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce in Xiancheng, and they were not ordinary police officers, they were a group of quite outstanding people. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3356. All the galaxies are mid-level and above, and there is even a domain lord level master. Is it one of our own? Knowing that he had been discovered, Jia Makiao, who was almost as small as dust, jumped out. While wary of these masters, he politely said, "I escaped from the war area over there. Can some seniors take me with you, return to Xiancheng? Such a small little human race." No, she is not a small human, she seems to be someone from the other side of the galaxy. This is actually a person from the Milky Way. What should we do? Take her back. The faces of the powerful men changed, and they each nodded. Anyone who can come back from the battlefield over there must not be a simple character. Those who can survive without high strength mean it is even more extraordinary. You go with us. These people led Jia Makiao and flew towards the city. They didn't ask about Jia Makiao's identity. Even though Jia Makiao's identity was no longer a secret in the eyes of the real high-level officials, for the middle and lower classes responsible for law enforcement, they were not yet involved at that level. You might get into trouble if you ask. Guys, why did you bring a galactic woman out? Suddenly, another law enforcement team arrived at the scene. They looked at Jia Makiao, who was being escorted by these experts, with feigned surprise. You don't have to worry about this, please leave. The several members of the law enforcement team here had sinister expressions on their faces, and they wanted to fly towards the city in a row. We can't let you leave until we make it clear. Those people suddenly arrived in front of Jia Makiao and others, standing in front of the road and refusing to give way. For a moment, the atmosphere became solemn. Why are you trying to stop me? Don't tell me what your responsibilities are, this is just a lie. The domain lord level master on Jia Makiao's side had an uncertain expression for a moment. Same as your answer, don't worry about our reasons, please leave this lady in our hands. This. The faces of the fingering team around Jia Makiao changed wildly, finally realizing how difficult the matter was. Don't be afraid. Their strength is comparable to mine. Our family and friends are all making a living in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. If we abandon this young lady at this time, I am afraid that disaster will be imminent. Are you willing to give up your current status? The domain master next to Mosquito had a righteous look on his face. He walked in front of Mosquito, arousing the anger of everyone in the team, but suddenly slapped Mosquito, who was being protected by him. This is the slap of a master from the other world. With one slap, the entire area of 100 kilometers is blocked. Mosquito had a somewhat relaxed expression on his face, but in an instant, it turned into indifference. Teleportation formation. She smiled sarcastically, and the moment the palm came to her eyes, her figure turned into nothingness. For a moment, everyone was in shock. 100,000 kilometers away, Mosquito's figure solidified again, looking at this group of law enforcement teams and masters from a distance. Even at this time, there were still a few members of the entire team with confused looks on their faces, as if they were making a show, or as if they were really deceived members of the law enforcement team. But Mosquito chose not to believe it at all. She almost believed him just now, but because she read a lot, she had already experienced similar scenes. Not all of the books she read were knowledge-based. In fact, storytelling books or fantasy books took up more space, and there were no weird stories in them. This kind of team suddenly appeared in the wilderness, and then wanted to save you, but there were too many things like stabbing you in the back. At least there were too many in the story, so she had already been wary of it. I didn't expect that all of you would go to such great lengths to deal with a half-star like me. You really think too highly of me. She smiled softly, and her figure once again turned into nothingness under the influence of the kinetic energy of the formation. Then it appeared again 100,000 kilometers away. Most of the members of the two law enforcement teams behind them had extremely ugly expressions. They knew the identity of this tiny galactic woman, that person's relative. The easiest player on the roster to acquire, but the price is not low at all. It is precisely because they know that this person has a good status and that even if his own strength is not good, his protective equipment cannot be underestimated, so they use strategies and take risks even if they expose their hidden identity in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Unexpectedly, even so, he still escaped. What kind of method is that? The top domain masters of the two teams gathered together in one place, looking extremely unhappy. They have been lurking in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce for several years, and even achieved their current identity and status, as well as their own families, which is definitely not a lie. Now that they are about to abandon them in one breath, the unwillingness in their hearts is naturally quite strong. But even so, they have nothing to be sad about. As for their family members, for strong people like them, they can produce a large number of them in tens or hundreds of years. They were just unwilling to let the identity of the spy they had worked so hard to obtain be revealed so easily. You. Several people who were still in shock and doubt looked at each other, and finally some people couldn't help but turned and ran away. Women from outside the world can escape. Do you want to escape too? It would be too disrespectful of us. The two domain lord level experts didn't even look back. They stretched out their palms and slapped the bodies of several former colleagues who had no time to escape. Blood rained down on them. Sir, now that our identities are exposed, what should we do? Go to the battlefield and see who is coming to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to stroke this tiger's beard. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. There is a possibility of cooperation. A slender figure was flying in the air. Finally, just before approaching the huge city wall, she stopped, carefully looked at the familiar city, and hesitated. Mosquito has experienced several battles. At this time, she can no longer guarantee whether the Xian city of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is still safe at this time, especially the city gate, which may have been invaded and occupied by the enemy. She did not choose to enter the city rashly, but it was difficult for her to climb the 100,000-kilometer high city wall. Because these city walls are protected by various protective powers from the inner world, and coupled with the power of formations blessed by Senior Edisha, even many lower-level domain lords dare not say that they can break in easily, let alone her. Speaking of which, it's really thanks to the instant formation given to me by Senior Edisha a few days ago. She let out a long sigh of relief. The teleportation formation given by Senior Edisha is a comprehensive product that imitates the transfer power of this other world, plus the formation's understanding of space, and then improves it. It turned into a small ring and was worn on Geomakiao's finger. Otherwise, it can be said that the strong family has a strong foundation. Just now, Geomakiao took out the pendant and gave it to the Black God clone to fight against the masters of the lower level of the territory lord. Now he is facing a crisis, and Edisha's teleportation formation has saved the day. If there are other crises in the future, there is no telling. Something else pops up. This shows that the background of a powerful family is really not something that ordinary experts can understand. Of course, Geomakiao himself is still too weak, otherwise he wouldn't need so many escape tools. This teleportation formation is not good enough against masters of my father's level. Just like the battle in the subspace just now, the speed at which I can move once is not as fast as the speed at which the opponent can use subspace to kill. Otherwise, it's been used a long time ago. She sighed and turned her gaze to the city wall in front of her. Suddenly Geomakiao's eyes moved. In the direction of the city gate, several familiar figures came into view. It was the little human female warrior she once rescued. They learned about the situation outside the city, and that their young lady was living in the camp on the other side of the battle, so they all walked out of the camp in the city to investigate. Should I trust them? Geomakiao was undecided for a moment. It stands to reason that if she had another way to enter the city and then return to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce's headquarters, she would not be afraid even if there were 3 or 5 more low-level domain masters coming. But the problem now is that it's difficult for her to get in. So necessary risks must also be taken. The battle over there is extremely volatile. With our strength, wouldn't it be very dangerous? Isn't the danger gone? You don't know whether the young lady is alive or dead over there. As guards, we are greedy for life and afraid of death at the critical moment. Tell us what the face of our little human race is. Don't forget the fate of our race under the rule of Xiancheng and the Chamber of Commerce. Who gave you the status? Several slim female humans were speeding on the road outside the city gate. Each of them is wearing armor and stomach. A few decades ago, such attire would have been ridiculed or even reported by ordinary residents. The government would arrest the rebellious barbarians, and even arrest them in batches to serve as snacks for the officials. But decades have passed. The status of the small humans under the rule of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is unprecedented. Not only can they serve in the army normally, but their status is even not low. The reason is precisely because there is a fixed team of female mini-humans who serve as the escorts of the eldest lady. No one knows the true identity and status of the eldest lady, but all major units have been notified, or have received suggestions from insiders. It is still waiting for the little human race, otherwise, if the eldest lady is angered, it may be a disaster. The reason why the little humans hold this status is naturally that they have a good family background, and they are also full of gratitude and loyalty to Geomakiao. Don't say anything, just keep going and pretend I didn't show up. At this time, a voice suddenly sounded in the ears of several female mini-humans. They were shocked, and after a slight flaw was revealed, they quickly regained their composure. The leader asked softly with an expressionless face, "Miss? Where are you? We will pick you up right away. Wait a moment, please pay attention to see if anyone is watching you around, and, see if anyone among you is acting strangely." Huh? Is there something wrong with some of us? The female leader of the small human race was startled and looked up at the four subordinates following her. They are all serious sisters. Although they are not from the same tribe, in the days when the small humans were oppressed, as long as the small humans got together, they were equivalent to being family. At this time, no one would believe that the 5 small human guardian women were together. Is there anyone who is a female cotter? Miss, we should be fine. Where are you? Let's go pick you up. Don't worry, I'm not far from you, but there are spies and rebels in the city looking for me now. I can't be exposed easily. You prepare some chariots and horses to leave the city, and then I will randomly attach to some chariots and horses. You can find the reason yourself. Well, I hope you won't betray my trust. Otherwise, Jia Makiao was favored by Jia Yan. Her mind works very fast. Yes, we are going back now. The reason is very simple. We forgot to bring a car. As guards, we all have our own special trekking animals. This time we happened to forget to ride one in the rush. Several small human women nodded, as if they had a conversation with each other, and then turned around and rushed towards the city in full view of the city gate. Guess ladies, why are you back again? A group of extremely tall city residents and idlers looked at these little humans with smiles. Even if their status has improved, how easy is it for ordinary residents to instantly change their attitude towards the small humans? They dare not deal with the small humans head-on, but it is very simple to express contempt in their attitude and language. We forgot to guard the carriages and horses. Now we have to enter and ride out. Please let us go. Hee, that's not okay. We have regulations that require inspections of all personnel entering and exiting during special periods. Okay, you can check it out, but let me tell you, if our mission is affected, don't complain to us when you lose your job in the future. Are you still stubborn? The little humans have been really proud of themselves recently. When I saw you like this before, I just picked them up and put them in the pot to cook. Hee, you must play with them before cooking. You guys are really catching up on the good times. Don't talk nonsense. Just do what they say. The inspection is routine. Don't cause trouble for me. Yes, Captain, I'll check right now. Under the difficulty and tossing of several city gate guards, several Galaxy Chamber of Commerce special inspection tools scanned the 5 small human women, and then found nothing, allowing them to enter the city. If you encounter such an inspection again in the future, and take out your special token. Jia Makiao spoke to them through the communicator. That's right, she has been using the communicator to talk, and these communicators are built into the armor of the little human women, as well as positioning devices, etc., but she doesn't usually explain it clearly to them. Not long after, the small human female guards rode on their own carriages and horses, and called for a few more people to join them, and galloped out of the city gate together. The city gate guards were all amazed. Riding a chariot or horse? Wrong, in their opinion, those riding on them are nothing more than small insects, but they still pretend to be majestic. These little humans are getting more and more arrogant day by day. Stop talking, it's not now that the status of the little human race has been raised. If you cause trouble again, if nothing else, even if your family is exiled to other places, won't you feel uncomfortable? Bye you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3357. Okay, I won't tell you, or trouble will come from my mouth. I really don't know why, Captain, you are afraid of this little human race. Of course I'm not afraid, it's just. The captain of the city gate guard silently stared at the group of small human female guards who were leaving quickly, and his eyes suddenly flashed with brilliance. I'm afraid they won't bring anyone back. The carriages and horses have arrived. Where are you, miss? Don't worry, I've got in your car, but I can't tell you where I am. Just take me back to the city. The sound came, and all the girls looked up, but found nothing. I have to mention that the earth is too small in this world, as dusty. Even if all the female warriors present have a strength of about half a star level, they can't see it. Especially when Jia hides his figure by accident. They were at a loss to do anything, so they looked at each other a few more times and chose to believe their lady. Go back home and remember not to tell anyone about the lady. The girls turned their mounts around again and returned the same way. At the Xiancheng side, the guards looked at the small human female warriors returning on the road, and Monk Zhang was confused. Aren't you tired of all this back and forth? Sorry, we didn't mean to embarrass you, but it was necessary for work and we offended you. The technological equipment stepped forward again and swept around the small humans on their mounts. At this time, all the female warriors of the small human race were uneasy. I was afraid that the technological equipment would see something. Otherwise, the people of the Milky Way are too scary. They have heard more than once that the guards at the city gate have cracked down on several cases of infiltration and strong men entering the city. It all depends on these devices working. I hope the lady will not be found out. Huh? No. The guard captain had been observing the equipment, but saw no response from the equipment, which immediately made him suspicious. Could it be that there is something wrong with the equipment in my hand? Or maybe his judgment was wrong. You, go in. After all, the guard captain was unsure and chose to let him go. He has forgotten that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce's own people are capable of handling the equipment from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Technology equipment, if you give permission, can produce any effect, let alone just identify ourselves and the enemy. Jia Makiao, who is close to a higher level of authority, has already adjusted the sensitivity of the guard's equipment on her smart brain platform. At the same time, she has also made secondary preparations, that is, she can borrow the power of the formation. Briefly enter the subspace. It's only a split second, but getting through the city wall is no problem. After that, it is the core territory of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and no matter how terrifying the lurker is, he will not dare to act openly. Because there are formations inside Xiancheng, and there are experts from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce who can arrive at any time, any fool who dares to take action will be asking for death. However, there is no need to use the backup plan. This small group of female small human warriors can clear the level. Just when the women of the small human race secretly breathed a sigh of relief and prepared to enter the city, a voice sounded. Chen Yaojin is here. Wait a minute, they are going back and forth in such a panic, maybe they have an ulterior motive. Everyone, follow me and go to the city defense station. I want to interrogate you. Looking at the visitor, the expressions on the faces of the small human women were extremely different. I didn't expect it to be successful, and I was intercepted halfway. What to do? The women all looked at their leader. The squad leader gritted his teeth and thought for a long time before shaking his head and saying, Master City Defense, our duty lies here. This is an important moment. In normal times, we would have agreed to your order, but now, forgive us for not being able to do it. Don't want to go? I will act in accordance with the wartime regulations. The city defense lord who appeared was the person in charge of this section of the city gate. Generally speaking, he would not come to the city gate to personally intervene in minor matters, but once he appeared, this incident would be absolutely impossible. Small. The people watching at the city gate were talking a lot. Facing everyone's pointing fingers, the little human women clearly felt some kind of discrimination and hostility. Although the small human race has already achieved a higher status, in the minds of the people of the other world, their ideas cannot change so quickly. They may be fine in normal times, but at such critical moments, emotions often control them. Idea. No one came forward to appeal for them, and no one said even a kind word for them. Some are just sarcastic. I'm sorry, sir, we can't agree to this. Please let me go. Don't want to? Then follow the wartime regulations and arrest them all. The city defense master sneered. The guards rushed forward. Miss Guard, please obey orders and draw your swords. The silver teeth of the female mini-humans were all broken, their eyes turned red, and they pulled out the long swords they were wearing. However, a group of creatures that are only a few kilometers or more than 10 kilometers in size use swords as if they are joking, and are not favored at all. I even laughed out loud. This group of little guys use weapons like ants using weapons. Not only is it unsightly, but it also looks very funny. Dang dang dang. The female guard captain who bore the brunt of the attack used her long sword to fight with the guard coldly, but as soon as an expert took action, she would know if there was any danger. Her moves quickly suppressed the opponent and left deep scratches on his face. Ah! The guard clutched his cheek and screamed, stepping back. If you don't get out of the way, don't blame me for being ruthless. As a master close to the galaxy level, the female captain's current strength is only a fraction of what he can display. The small humans also have experts, and even if Makiao's bodyguard is a small human, it is absolutely impossible to hire someone with average strength. This female guard captain has a skill. The city defense officer's expression remained unchanged and he just stepped forward calmly. As an expert from an ordinary family background, he worked hard to become a mid-level expert in the galaxy, but he could not cross the threshold of the domain lord level. Of course, he is known as a Taoist master in the other world. Ding! With just a light step, the long sword that the female guard captain raised to block broke into two pieces. Puff! The female captain spat out a mouthful of blood, and her expression immediately turned gray. It was obvious that she had suffered internal injuries. Okay, little humans, your tricks are over. Just be bound by me. Seeing that you are masters of the guild master's lineage, I won't hold you accountable for your mistakes just now. Don't think about it, guards, form your formation, draw your swords. The guard captain's face, dripping with blood, was covered with frost. Unexpectedly, this small human escort team actually mastered the ability to attack together with formations. After a while, all the spectators near the city gate showed shocked expressions. Because the city defense officer was actually suppressed, a group of 5 small human women severely beat the city defense officer into a state of disarray. At this time, instead of being a constraint on them, his small size became more flexible and changeable. Tactics. Even a mid-level master of the galaxy who is close to the territory lord level can fight like this, which shows that the real fighting power of this small human team is earth-shattering. It is said that the Earthlings King of Soldiers squad is terrifying. It can suppress the galaxy-level giants with a group of less than galaxy-level forces. However, what the outside world does not know is that the small human fighting echelon was secretly cultivated by Jia Yan himself. And even more so. The combined fighting power cannot be defeated by even the top mid-level stars of Galaxy. You guys do it too. The city defense chief looked extremely ugly and ordered the guard team standing by to watch. Yes. The captain of the team suddenly realized it and ordered his subordinates to join the battle group with weapons in hand. Although they joined forces to fight a group of small humans that they had looked down on before, and they were women, it made them lose face. But the actual combat capabilities of the small human escorts still made them put aside all shame. It's better to lose some face than to lose the battle. You are sabotaging the Chamber of Commerce's major events by obstructing us. The female captain of the escort took the time to shout. Several guards obviously felt that today's battle was very strange. They hesitated during the action, and some people withdrew from the battle sequence. What is the big business of the Chamber of Commerce? When did the Chamber of Commerce leave it to a group of small female humans? We guard the city gate, which is a serious matter. God knows if you have some ulterior motives for entering and exiting the city gate several times. Don't listen to them. It's just a lie, it's the official order to catch them. What Lord Chengfang said was reasonable, and even in terms of reason, it was convincing. Seal. The female guard captain took out a golden token. My lady's license plate is here. If you dare to stop it again, it will be an open rebellion. Upon hearing this and seeing the special light and shadow effects on the token, more guards were immediately put off. But the city defense captain did not back down at all. Why are you listening to her sweet talk? We can buy a bunch of tokens like this in a children's toy store. Some people think that what the villain guard captain said is reasonable, but others think that what the city defense master said is reasonable. No one knew what was going on for a while. Kill. At this time, the female escorts also clearly saw that there was something wrong with the city defense master. Rather than start a verbal dispute with him, it would be better to open the way to the city gate and send the lady into the city. But at this moment, what everyone in the fierce battle didn't know was a tiny figure directly activated the power of the formation, and without anyone noticing, it traveled through the subspace and entered the city gate. Sure enough, in the area where they fought, the city's formations and Deo power protection were not deployed at all, so that I could sneak in without anyone noticing. Jiao Maqiao looked at the gate of Chaoshan City in the middle of the battle, shook his head, and flew towards the headquarters of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce as fast as he could. Even after entering the city, she was still not absolutely safe. Xiancheng has been a mixed bag of dragons and snakes recently. People and ghosts are wandering in the forest of the city. God knows how many people have evil intentions. As soon as she got close to the headquarters of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, she didn't believe that her own father could watch his daughter in danger before her eyes. As for the battle at the city gate, she would immediately order support when she returned. The first step was to arrest the city guard. There was definitely something wrong with him. But if you can't go back, everything is zero. Jiao Maqiao had just passed through a street, and no pedestrians on the road could even sense her presence. But the accident happened the moment he crossed the street. Groan. She only felt that she was trapped in some kind of quagmire, and her flying figure was completely blocked, making it difficult to move even an inch. This was a method used by a being whose strength far exceeded her limit. Moreover, this method of strength is not a trace of the power of the other world. He is a master of the universe. And he is a cosmic master from the Milky Way. Jiao Maqiao's expression froze and he looked at the figure slowly walking out. It's you. She said with great difficulty. Yes, it's me, Junior. Your father is helping others to do evil, so I have no choice but to stand on your opposite side. The person who came was very calm, as if he had done something natural. And even if he deployed his power in the city, it seemed to be isolated from the city. The bustling crowd just left his side, and even stepped into this area, as if it was distorted. No one felt that a kidnapping had taken place here. Event. Jiao Maqiao also wanted to struggle, and also tried to use several powers given by Edisha to get out of trouble, but he was like a cow in mud, with no response. There is no need to struggle. In front of the real lower level of the Domain Lord, your meager means are not worth mentioning. The other party stepped out of the twisted shadow, and the facial expression revealed was that of the subspace genius among the six masters, and the biggest enemy of Jiao Maqiao's master Haitian, Shawo. Shawo and Haitian have a grudge against their father. But Jiao Maqiao worshipped Haitian as his teacher, and the news that Haitian was supposed to die but was resurrected has recently reached the ears of Shuo and others. Or should I say, maybe they knew about it from the beginning and only took offense recently. Why? Aren't we, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, on good terms with your 5 major forces? We even gave you so many shares. Makiao was really angry and struggled hard. But no matter whether he used the formation power given by Senior Edisha or the last energy backup left by his father, there was no response. I have no choice but to. The level of experts in front of me is really too high. The backup provided by Edisha, let alone a foreign object, may not be able to please Edissa even if she comes. Go. Haha, friendship. Alliance. Shares. In our opinion, these are just petty profits. We don't want this when we enter the other world. The other party approached Makiao, his voice was soft, like nothingness. At this time, this stranger didn't look like his eyes were red because of revenge for his father. He was terrifyingly calm. Perhaps it should be said that his initial calmness was only due to the need of interests, which led him to launch crazy revenge on Hai Tian. By now, it was almost time for him to reveal his true colors. Then what do you want? Ticket. I know that Hai Tian has a ticket. As a disciple, you must have heard about it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3358. It's a new volume, thank you all for your continued support. For a moment, Makiao's struggle and anger became silent. She frowned and stared at the master who trapped her. This reaction confirmed the other party's words. What? You were said to be right? If you can help me get your master's ticket, not only will you be able to live today, but we will also forget about your father, and even this mystery that we have infiltrated into is riddled with holes. The city, and even the entire Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, we can hand it over to you completely, and we promise not to leave any behind. You think I'm a 3-year-old? A smile appeared on Makiao's frosty face. She didn't believe what this guy said, even if he didn't believe it. What's more, the other party didn't say how Master Haitian would be dealt with. Once a teacher, always a father. The other party's words suddenly choked. That's right. What's the point of saying these words to a kid like you? Shao's expression changed from seductive to calm, and his eyes gradually lost the slightest expression. But Makiao knew that this was a sign that the other party was ready to take action. Moreover, there is no more Black Dad and Monkey Dad standing in front of this territory lord's back steps. She doesn't even have many means left in her hand. What can she do to stop the attack of a low-level domain master? Block it with your head? Dad. I raised my paw when I saw the distance, and she finally showed a trace of panic. Puff. The next moment, a figure faintly appeared beside Shao, with one foot sticking out and inadvertently getting in the way between Makiao and Shao. The opponent's outstretched claws were easily controlled. Shao's expression changed slightly and he looked at the visitor. The visitor was dressed in black, and the reflective exoskeleton exuded a cold brilliance. The eyes filled with countless compound eyes were piercingly cold, as if they could directly freeze a person's soul. Its overall body shape presents a streamlined style, revealing a certain mysterious flower dimension, and there are also some radiant blue colors on it. The slender needle is exposed, and the sharp mouthparts seem to be able to directly stab the enemy to death anytime and anywhere. Jia Yan. Shao looked embarrassed, resisting the urge to continue to strike with death, and suddenly took a step back, looking at the true supreme leader of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce who had arrived with great solemnity. And it is also an existence that the 5 powerful forces are extremely afraid of. They had observed the head of the trade zone for a long time. After decades, they finally came to the conclusion that the reason why this person who usually didn't do much was able to become the backbone of the trade zone and sit in the outer world for so many years had no trace of anything. The reason for the omission is not how strong he is, but that this so-called evolved beast is actually too strong. So far, no one knows where his limit lies. He clearly senses that his superficial strength is just a level higher than that of Shao and others. In a real fight, I'm afraid Xiaowo also has a winning rate. But in fact, they judged from Jia Yan's several attacks that his true strength is unfathomable. Maybe the three major masters of the same level may not be able to withstand his strength if they attack together. Only the 6 major masters who have entered the inner world must come together to defeat him. Enough guarantee of victory. But their 6 masters seemed to come from the same place, but in fact they were not at all the same as they seemed on the surface. The 5 major forces have had countless conflicts for a long time. It is precisely because they have been attacking each other for countless years that no one can do anything about the other, and finally they have no choice but to form an alliance. In the other world, each has more interests, and it becomes a sign of falling apart again. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce led by Jia Yan has become a bridge of balance between them, so if they really want to join forces to deal with Jia Yan, maybe a few of the 6 will have small thoughts, let alone defection at the critical moment, at least also work but no effort. So they are still quite wary of Jia Yan. Your Excellency Xiaowo, I remember that it was a pleasure to talk to you and others. Why, it's only been a few days and you are already interested in my daughter. This doesn't seem like something a strong person would do. The giant mosquito's icy cold gaze glanced at Xiaowo's body, causing him to get goosebumps. This Jia Yan seems to be better than the last time I saw him. Damn it, being young is good. Strong people like us have already passed the period of becoming stronger. It would take a lot of money to see a slight change in more than 10 years, but it will become bigger in a few years or even a few months. Increase once. Xiaowo's expression remained unchanged, but there were many waves in his heart. I'm sorry, Your Excellency Jia Yan, I don't want your daughter's life either. The most I can do is take her away and ask for some things, and then I will return her to you safe and sound. Oh? So now that I am here, do you want to continue to take my daughter away in front of me? Now that the matter has come to this, Shu Wo is not afraid to tell more. He said coldly, if Your Excellency Jia Yan is willing to tell me some secrets in person, I can also consider not using your lady's confession. So, do you want to arrest me as well? Haha, very good. No one has despised me for many years. Why don't we try our skills? After all, the last time you fought with my clone, I haven't quite realized what you're capable of, so it would be nice to experience it together this time. My breathing was stagnant. Not to mention, he has almost forgotten that when he wanted to force his way into the other world, he was well taught by the Black God to be a good man. Now, although his strength has also increased, compared to Jia Yan's true body, he thinks that the increase may not have been there. The opponent is bigger, and last time he was just inseparable from his clone. Although he was careless and didn't use his full strength, he really has such ability to fight against Jia Yan's real body? He became uncertain for a moment. But Jia Yan didn't care so much, and said to his daughter Jia Makiao, daughter, you can go back directly, the fragrance of flowers is waiting for you over there. Jia Makiao looked along the street and saw, thousands of kilometers away, a huge human female figure that exuded a sense of power as a junior domain lord. It was Jia Makiao who had been diligently following Jia Makiao in the other world. The fragrance of flowers around the rock. Anti-Hwasyang. Jia Makiao grew up in the other world, how could he not be familiar with the fragrance of flowers, so he swooped over at this moment. Xiao Jiao, you must have suffered a lot this time. Just go with Auntie. Xiao will never do anything to you again. With Jia Yan's help, Hwasyang had already been given the opportunity to be promoted to the lower level of territory lord. Of course, this also required her to be on the verge of a breakthrough. Coupled with Jia Yan's several genetic abilities and the guidance of the formation, this only then can there be a possibility of breakthrough, otherwise Jia Yan would not be able to help if it were another master. But this does not prevent her from being grateful to Jia Yan, because she knows very well that if she had not received Jia Yan's help, she would have been trapped at the top of the intermediate territory lord for the rest of her life, serving as the goddess emperor of the divine realm until her death. So she treats Jia Yan's daughter as her own. Under the protection of the fragrance of flowers, the two figures quickly left the street. It's not convenient for us to fight here. Let's go in. Jia Yan looked at it several times and wanted to leave, but Xiaowo, who was locked by himself, stretched out his foot, and saw the subspace twisting violently, and with a buzzing sound, he dragged Xiaowo into the subspace. Damn it! Xiaowo was also gifted in the subspace, but he found that he was dragged into the subspace that he usually didn't want to enter without even resisting. He was shocked and confused for a moment. This Jia Yan's space guiding power alone far surpassed him. Every talent master, as he reaches the later stage, is less likely to be exactly the same. For example, among the subspace talent masters, Jia Yan is different from Shu Wo, and Shu Wo is different from the subspace master who fought against Jia Yan's clone outside the city. Even the degree of difference is beyond imagination. Jia Yan, don't bully others too much. Our alliance of 5 major forces cannot bully just a single person like you. You can bear it? My eyes are about to burst. Jia Yan seemed not to be looking at Xiaowo, but just looking into the distance of the subspace. Because the subspace is extremely distorted, places in the entire space that seem far away are now closer. The clone was engaged in a fierce battle with the subspace master from the Magellanic Galaxy, and it was almost dangerous. The clone and Jia Yan looked at each other, and the memories between the two parties suddenly started to exchange, and Jia Yan also knew the cause and effect of the whole thing. What do you want me to say? These major forces are really good at picking the moment. When Magellan's people come to attack, they will jump out to cause trouble. Jia Yan did not go directly to the battlefield in the distant subspace to assist the clone. The stranger in front of me is something that needs to be paid more attention to. After all, compared to the Magellan masters who are unfamiliar with the place, these 5 major forces masters know the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce better and have a deep understanding of the entire layout and methods. As the saying goes, you must first settle down inside. He still chose to deal with the dangerous object in front of him first. What also gave him some headaches was that he couldn't kill me if I was alone. To kill is to poke an ant in the nest. The 5 major forces are not only powerful in themselves, but also have inextricable relationships with all the major forces in the galaxy. The last time Jia Yan personally went to the central star field of the galaxy, he attracted the so-called first domain master in the galaxy. God knows if provoking the 5 major forces again will cause a group of lower-ranking territory lords to attack. Besides, even if we don't talk about anything else, Jia Yan will have a headache if the 6 masters appear and disappear in the other world. So it cannot be killed. Are you going to be restrained, or are you going to let me, the guild leader, do it myself? Jia Yan. How dare you despise me? After all, I am also a lower-level domain lord at the same level as you, and like you, I am a subspace existence. My subspace control ability is stronger than yours. I looked very embarrassed. He knew that he was definitely not Jia Yan's opponent, but he still had to talk about the situation. If a master lived to this level and still had to live in a low voice, then this master would have lost his energy long ago. Of course, there are exceptions to everything, but Shum is not one of them. Otherwise, when he saw Hai Tian, the enemy who killed his father, he would not show any trace of his true feelings. Clang. In the next moment, Jia Yan shot out with electricity from his long foot, and Xiaowo blocked the way of Jia Yan with a twisted subspace. It's amazing to say that in the long time since Jia Yan's debut, he has not encountered many subspace talents. But today, near this small Xian city, 3 subspace fellows have gathered together. A top-level master, the fight was so wonderful. Nice move. Jia Yan couldn't help but applaud Xiaowo's subspace control skills. The even better thing is yet to come. I can still control the subspace near Xiancheng. Jia Yan, dragging me into the subspace is the wrong decision. Xiaowo was overjoyed when he saw that he could still hold on even after fighting with one move. Before taking action, he had already used a unique communication method to summon the other 5 masters. If some of them could arrive, then this battle would still be possible. Even if you use the numbers to coerce and lure Jia Yan, and then see if you can use the benefits to get Jia Yan to hand over Haitian, or to get Haitian to hand over his ticket to take charge, you're done. Deep in the subspace, the two sides fought fiercely and inextricably. There's a chance. There's a chance. I didn't expect him to be that much stronger than his counterpart. My heart is filled with ecstasy. Because he had made hundreds of moves and used all his methods in the subspace, he didn't feel any obvious disadvantage. Even if Jia Yan doesn't go all out, he can't be too strong. There were even more vicious thoughts in his heart. Since Jia Yan's strength was lower than expected, is it possible that he could call on those people next to exert stronger pressure on the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce? He gave away more benefits. This silver. The development of the River Chamber of Commerce has exceeded their original expectations, and has spread around the Imperial Island. It is obviously developing under the eyes of countless ticket holders, but with the tacit understanding of everyone, unintentionally gained huge benefits. And he has more advantages than the Magellan Masters who rushed over, that is, they are not outsiders to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce itself, and they also have many secrets, and they are also responsible for the operation of the entire Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. I know better, maybe I can really drive Jia Yan away or eliminate him, replace him with a civet cat for the prince, and directly become the real master of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Thinking of this, his expression suddenly became very happy, thinking that it was possible for him to do it. Jia Yan, you have disappointed us and our allies so much. That Haitian just joined after us, but now you are protecting the other party. You are not worthy of being our allies, let alone the master of this Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Our galaxy, the reputation of the Chamber of Commerce cannot be trampled on by people like you, so get out of this area. Xiaowo swelled and made a counter-attack for the first time. Jia Yan, however, seemed to realize it in hindsight. The scene of the fight in the distance that had been reflected in his compound eyes suddenly returned to Xiaowo, who had been bouncing in front of him, and finally the word humph came out of his mouth. Immediately, a force that seemed far different from what I had felt before came to Xiaowo's body. The extremely huge subspace power and some earth-shattering formation pressure also suppressed Xiaowo to the point where he was unable to move for an instant. Baiyu. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3359. You know, this is a battle that belongs to the top masters, and everyone knows what the moment represents. Not good. Xiaowo finally felt something from Jia Yan's eyes, and there was a buzz in his mind, and I felt that I had made a mistake in my judgment. Jia Yan, after entering the subspace, has not focused his main attention on him. But it has been on the clone's body. Now that he had exploded, he turned his attention back a little, and the result was that he directly encountered a disaster. This guy has never had a serious fight with him until now. A strong sense of shame emerged, but after the shame passed, an unprecedented sense of crisis emerged. Puff. Before he could react too much, he saw a small hole on the surface of his body. Blood spurted out of the hole as if it was free, and the subspace immediately swallowed the blood hole and turned it into nothingness. Before the pain came, Xiaowo had already instinctively distanced himself from Jia Yan, but the moment he rushed out of the subspace, he encountered another fierce attack behind him, as if the blood was free of charge. It left a series of marks on the surface of his body. The people in Xi'an City who were attracted by the battle outside the city felt that the subspace was cracking in the direction of the city wall, and then there was a sudden flash of earth-shaking terrifying power, and then a shadow that was not too big but had terrifying power quickly disappeared in the sky. This shadow left a shower of blood, and no one knew how serious the injury was. Now is not the time to start a war with the 5 major forces, so killing him must be considered carefully. Jia Yan wants to kill Shuo directly, which is not without a chance, but it will take a lot of effort. God knows whether the other lower-level domain lords of the 5 major forces will arrive in a short time, and then he will be able to fight against the 6 masters alone. The situation will be very unfavorable. It should not be said that the 6 masters, plus the 2 Magellanic Galaxy experts, he will directly face the 8 masters. If other enemy alliances get wind of the news and come to a few masters, it will really be in danger. Even if Hai Tian helps him resist one of them, when the situation is really desperate, the old man will definitely not be able to die for him. So he gave up. Now it's those two's turn. Jia Yan's eyes were fierce. The visitors from the Magellanic Galaxy are not yet known to the public. Even Xu Jiao just saw the opportunity and took action without knowing the details of the 2 Magellanics. In other words, if I have a chance, it would be most cost-effective to kill these 2 people here. After all, if I let them go and contact Shuo and others, they will definitely form an alliance to deal with me, and then it will be a big deal. Not good. I must kill him. Senior, hold on here while I go over and take care of the subspace master over there, and then I'll join you. Ken. The faceless man in Haitian Dudu looked normal, which showed that he was quite relaxed. The 2 clones on the other side were fighting hand in hand with the subspace master, and were already on the verge of collapse. Today is really an accident. I have fought 2-dimensional colleagues in succession. Your method is very unique. Can you stay and communicate with this president? Jia Yan. That time, the space master saw Jia Yan coming to the subspace, and he wanted to escape several times. The shadow of a famous tree. This absolute king from the Orion arm of the Milky Way has a great reputation in the outside world, especially since they have just penetrated into the Milky Way from the Magellanic Cloud and almost heard Jia Yan's famous name traveling along the way. In a specific area, Jia Yan's reputation as a top player has actually spread. Still very famous. Otherwise, why would they put so much effort into trying to get involved in the careers of Jia Yan and others and wreak havoc? They just didn't want this rumored to be a powerful and talented expert to continue to grow. Now I suddenly saw Jia Yan repelling a master with the same subspace talent, and then rushing towards him. Come on, this subspace genius from Magellan feels very sad. President Jia Yan, these 2 clones of you really make me feel helpless. That's a compliment. If you think I'm bullying you with my clones, I'll put them away. Jia Yan sneered, and the 2 clones retreated. In fact, there is no need for him to say this. In order to hold back this Dimension Master, the 2 clones have already withstood several attacks that far exceeded their endurance limit. Their bodies have become tattered. If they don't retreat, they may have to start all over again. Pass. But as soon as Jia Yan himself arrived, his words became as if he was deliberately giving in to the other party. The subspace expert was speechless, wanting to say that Jia Yan was shameless. But when things come to a head, there is no point in showing off one's words. He also knew what Jia Yan was thinking, so unlike the one who escaped just now, he was really in a life and death crisis. I have heard for a long time that Mr. Jia Yan is the top subspace expert in the Milky Way. Unfortunately, I also have the title of the strongest subspace existence in the Magellanic Galaxy. It is better to choose a different day than to hit the sun. Let's decide who is stronger between you and me today. He gritted his teeth. The action of roaring filial piety was different from the heroic words, and he stepped back directly. He already knew something after seeing the fight between Jia Yan and Shuo just now. He is by no means Jia Yan's opponent. You can know this by sensing it from a distance. Hey, you didn't mean what you said, please stop. Jia Yan's subspace talent was unleashed, and the entire subspace was shaken. In other words, the current subspace in the other world is different from when Jia Yan first arrived decades ago. Especially in the area near Xiancheng, the subspace is basically two different things. Not to mention Jia Yan, his strength has improved recently. Let's just talk about the current subspace near Xiancheng. Because it is getting closer and closer to the Milky Way, the threat level of the subspace has plummeted. For Jia Yan, who can originally move in the subspace of the other world, he can make more complex operations, such as the current attack method is one of them. The subspace shrank suddenly. The suppressive power formed in the subspace, causing the opponent's power to retreat in the subspace to suddenly drop significantly. What an astonishing ability to control subspace, not to mention skills. This kind of power is terrifying. The subspace master from Magellan looked down and looked extremely ugly again. He calls himself a subspace genius, and has always been unconvinced that there are so-called true subspace masters in the Milky Way. He came here just to find a top subspace being in the Milky Way to compete with him. Look at this countryman, whether it is possible to overturn a top expert from the city of the Milky Way. Now I have got what I wanted, but the result is not satisfactory. He is not as good as Jia Yan. But he won't admit defeat. If you want to ask this subspace master, what is better than Jia Yan, that is, his long years have given him complete experience. The same goes for subspace techniques. If Jia Yan's skills include less sophisticated operations, then the opponent's subspace ability belongs to the top operators above the cloud. She can't compare in terms of pure strength, but her skills are pretty good. Yin yin yin. Many small holes appear in the endless subspace. Each hole was as big as the tip of a pin, and when tens of billions of them appeared, a cave huge enough for him to enter and exit appeared. He suddenly knocked out of Jia Yan's control area before Jia Yan arrived. Jia Yan looked stunned as he swept his feet in the direction where the subspace expert was originally standing. Sure enough, the longer you live, the more powerful you become, and the obvious gaps are filled by skills. It seems that this battle will not be resolved as easily as I imagined. It's a very good skill. It makes me look at you differently. I plan to increase my strength to deal with you, otherwise I won't respect you. No, just use your current strength. When the other party saw him, his heart suddenly became cold. He didn't know if Jia Yan was exaggerating, but at least with his current strength, he felt that it was quite difficult to deal with. How about increasing his combat power? He will die. Jia Yan told him with practical actions that Jia Yan now really has the confidence to increase his strength. A crazy burst of energy flashed on the body surface, and then turned into a blue formation. Jia Yan did not increase his energy level, but just used one of his most powerful methods now, the formation ability. The power of this array is no longer what it used to be. You know, the reason he didn't show up in the retreat room for so long was because he got a chance for a small promotion after using the energy of the array of talented people gathered from various places several times. So I stayed in seclusion until I was almost successful in promotion, and then I came out to clean up the mess. This is the time to test the effectiveness of the retreat. Catcha. Inexplicably, there is a huge rotating blue wheel in the next row. This rotation is about 100 kilometers long, and the edge is rotating rapidly. It is obviously the power of the formation, but at first glance, it looks like a real object that can shine, which is quite scary. Even the entire subspace was cut open by it. Goodoo. The other party's face suddenly turned pale. With this weird attack method, just by looking at it with your eyes, you will feel an extremely strong cutting sensation. If you accidentally get cut into your body, wouldn't it be a clean break? President Jia Yan, we don't actually want to be a direct enemy of your Chamber of Commerce. We didn't use killing moves when we captured your daughter. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see your daughter. You must be the best at this point. Clearly. It's useless to say more. Jia Yan sneered and directed the formation wheel with his feet to fly towards the target quickly. How could he not know that it would be difficult for his daughter to escape from the hands of two masters of the same level with only the Black God clone? But the other party's purpose in doing this was just to save their daughter's life so that they could use it to blackmail themselves. It had nothing to do with how they did it. The ultimate goal was to persecute themselves and their families, which is absolutely unforgivable. Moreover, if we don't kill these two people and let the tiger return to the mountains, we will suffer harm from them in the future. Poof. The opponent used space energy one after another to cut on the formation wheel, which obviously caused a piece of the wheel to be missing, but this was just the formation. With the supplement of energy, it quickly returned to its original state, and even the rotation speed did not stop much. He quickly retreated and flew quickly in the subspace. He used subspace skills to block the power of the wheel many times on the way, but to no avail. He could only watch the wheel unswervingly approaching him. Until he witnessed the wheel cutting into his body with splitting eyes, blood flying, he screamed and cursed, but it couldn't have the slightest effect. A top subspace expert from the Magellanic Galaxy was cut into two pieces in such a cruel situation. The scream stopped abruptly. The faceless man who was watching the battle from a distance felt the fluctuations of the fight in the subspace. After judging the situation, he trembled a few times. He didn't even dare to think about lingering with Hai Tian for a few more minutes and just made a fuss. The move made Hai Tian take half a step back, and he took the opportunity to fly to the distance of Xian City. Don't leave. How could Hai have no idea about the battle situation in the subspace? A ferocious smile appeared on his expression, showing off his true qualities as a top star thief, and he jumped after him. Without much hesitation, Jia Yan restrained the two-part corpse of the subspace master using subspace power, took it with him, picked up speed, and chased the faceless man. Cutting off the roots. There was no way he could spare this visitor from the Magellanic Galaxy. The most important thing is to prevent them from colluding with the five major forces or colluding with people from other galaxies. Otherwise, the already unfavorable form of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will undergo earth-shaking changes. Damn. Why is Jia Yan so powerful? The faceless creature felt unlucky. These people from the Magellanic Cloud all have the mentality that even though they come from a small place, they look down on the masters of the Milky Way. In the previous exchanges, he also determined that the subspace master was the best among the best. Even if he faced him head-on, the winning rate would be 50-50. He had also heard the other party talk about the subspace talented masters in the Milky Way. He said it with complete indifference, thinking that there must be no subspace existence comparable to him in the Milky Way. He had just arrived in the Milky Way, and he looked down upon the talented people in the subspace of the Milky Way, but he fell into the hands of Jia Yan, who was equally talented. Damn it, you still want to show off in the central star field of the Milky Way, screw you. I believed in your evil deeds, so I will work with you to cause friction with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. I also said that even if Jia Yan is lured out, he can escape with him. Escape to heaven, right? What should I do? I don't have the talent for subspace. If I try to escape like this, I will definitely not be as fast as Jia Yan. I am destined to be overtaken by him. Not to mention the old man Hai Tian, even Jia Yan can't escape alone. Can kill me. Well. Just when the master was panicking, his eyes lit up. It turned out that not far from Xiancheng, several figures of lightning and flint arrived quickly. Everyone is full of evil spirits. These are not the key points. The key point is that the subspace master named Xiaowo who was chased by Jia Yan just now is also in the team of these top masters. Judging from their menacing appearance, they did not look like a friendly gesture with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Guys, this Jia Yan has done many evil things and framed my colleagues and friends. Please help me. It will be beneficial in the future. Bye you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3360. The faceless man immediately rushed in front of several masters without any care. And Jia Yan's attack also arrived before Hai Tian's attack. The subspace split open, and a foot thrust out with an indomitable momentum. This attack seems simple and unpretentious, but it contains the power of Jia Yan's formation and various power blessings. If the opponent does not defend with all his strength, it will definitely have the effect of piercing him with one foot. Jia Yan wants to kill the opponent directly before he can reach an agreement with the 5 major alliance masters. However, killing another person of the same level in front of the 6 masters of the same level is extremely difficult. Even if Jia Yan is afraid of any one of them, it is quite difficult to handle 6 of them together. One of them narrowed his eyes and stretched out his weapon, which was a dead branch. It is one of the wonderful objects from the other world, and it has a hard attribute. It is most suitable as a weapon for masters like them. When a sharp whistling sound sounded, Jia Yan's feet encountered unprecedented resistance, and the whole thing was shocked and retracted into the subspace. President Jia Yan, why are you so aggressive? You have already killed this friend's colleague. It would be too much for you to pursue him to the end. The speaker holds the branch in his hand with a wary look in his eyes. Really? He is a strong man from the Magellanic Galaxy. Dear friends from the galaxy, I remember that we are still allies, not to mention that you are also from the galaxy. Are you planning to use outsiders to deal with me, a fellow countryman? Magellan's people? No wonder you've never heard of it. The Walker, Jia Yan, is very familiar. Among the 6 powerful allies, this was the one who put a certain amount of pressure on Jia Yan. Over the past few decades of their relationship, he had roughly mastered his identity information. This person is the strongest among the 5 forces. He cannot be said to be the leader of the force, but he is definitely the mainstay of the force. He is probably the strongest among the 6 masters who are currently allied with Jia Yan. Since you are from Magellan, we should ignore it, but Your Excellency Jia Yan fought with your ally before and seriously injured him, so I have to take care of this matter. At this point, there was a hint of coldness in the other party's words. Jia Yan nodded, not surprised. Since these 6 masters have set out to come, it means that they have made a decision, and they cannot end it hastily because of a few words of their own. In that case, are you ready to have a fight with me? You don't have to do anything, but the prerequisite is that President Jia Yan hands over this person. We are willing to keep him under our custody and ensure that he will not have any impact on my galaxy plan. What if I say no? President Jia Yan, please take it easy. You don't think that you can still win if we, the 6th, no, even the 7th are at the same level with this Magellan's friend. Who knows if you don't try? Jia Yan's words suddenly made the atmosphere colder. But he changed the topic and regained his composure from the bitter cold. But I, Jia Yan, am not like some people who forget their loyalty when they see benefits. When they see some benefits, they rush forward regardless of their righteousness. I have an alliance agreement with you. Then I will abide by it, but it won't happen again. You can take this person away so that you can take care of yourself. After saying that, he rushed towards Xiancheng in the distance without looking back. A group of experts behind him watched helplessly as he left, and no one spoke for a while. In the end, Xiaowo, who was injured by Jia Yan, shook his head and said, "Actually, I still think that we should take advantage of this opportunity to kill him here. After all, we have such an advantage in numbers, there should be no reason why we can't succeed. You can't kill him. You have experienced his subdimensional power yourself. Do you think you can do it? Shuo was silent for a moment, recalling the power of subspace that Jia Yan had just shown, and was immediately speechless. No matter how many of them there are, they can't block Jia Yan's subspace power. They are destined to kill no matter how strong they are. Jia Yan is immortal unless he can be killed instantly. But with Jia Yan's own strength, can they kill him in an instant? Impossible. Your Excellency from Magellan, although you were saved by us, we will not take any more cruel behavior towards you, but you need to behave yourself. If you do anything like escaping, you can decide on your own what we will do. Imagine, now come back with me. Well, thank you for your help. The expression of the faceless man changed several times, and finally turned into an obedient and fully obedient look. He knew that he was jumping out of a tiger's den and like a wolf's pit, but it was better than being killed directly just now. Jia Yan came to him with murderous intent. If he also died, the entire front line of troops entering the other world would be in trouble. As long as he is still alive and finds a way to convey information to the outside world, there may be room for change. Not mentioning the departure of these 7 masters, just talking about Jia Yan who returned to Xian City. At this time, the war was ending, and Hai Tian led several teams of strong city defenders to stand ready at the city gate. They were not sure whether Jia Yan would fight against the 7 masters, and they were anxious at this time. Fortunately, Jia Yan is back. Senior Haitian, thank you for your help this time. No, it's my duty to save my apprentice. Besides, you blocked me for me. Hai Tian waved his hand, and after seeing that Jia Yan was fine, he set off back to his residence. He won't care about these messes, otherwise who would be the president? Jia Yan smiled bitterly and had to handle everything by himself. But he personally went to clean up the body of the subspace master in the subspace. Fortunately, the other party was a master of subspace talent, and the bodies died so quickly in the subspace in this area, which allowed him to obtain a lot of information. Well, these 2 so-called masters are actually members of the Great Alliance of the Magellanic Galaxy. Jia Yan looked at the smart brain he had obtained. The information in it was so rich. Although he could not see everything in the Magellanic Cloud clearly, he could still see roughly. Many of the important information he wanted were in it. The large and small Magellanic Clouds are known to be companion galaxies surrounding the Milky Way. It is not an exaggeration to say that they are a part of the Milky Way. But because their galaxy is too small, the life forms in it are often weaker. For countless years of history, they can only rely on the breadth of the galaxy's life system. But things are different now. Through secret alliances and secret exchanges, the large and small Magellanic Clouds have gradually strengthened their strength over tens of thousands of years, become monolithic, and have also developed a pretty good talent training system. At least it must be more complete than the current scattered Milky Way. So their ambitions swelled and they were ready to make up for their biggest lack. That is to say, you have a true invincible strong man, above the domain lord level. Just like a master like Tai's Hang, as long as there is one, even if it is not as good as the Milky Way, the big and small Magellanics can definitely transform into an equal area that the Milky Way has to look directly at. Because they are located in a corner, they actually have an advantage. There are almost no changes to the big forces that have been handed down. Books and other things have been well preserved for tens of thousands of years. Many big forces know that the Milky Way has the largest world close to the other world. Convenience. Every tens of thousands of years, there will always be masters from the galaxy entering the other world through subspace, and then competing for promotion spots. It is not clear how many of them succeeded in total, but at least one is still famous today, Tai's Hang. There is no doubt that he is too powerful, and he became the holder of the ticket tens of thousands of years ago. Finally, after going through hardships, he became a peerless master above the domain lord. They entered the other world this time to explore the way, to explore and overcome difficulties for the real talents that Magellan and Magellan were planning to send. But what they didn't expect was that they wanted to take action first and bring the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to such an extent. In the process of eradicating a force that, in their opinion, had no confidence at all, the ship capsized, one person died, and the other was kidnapped by a master of a major force that the galaxy needed to pay more attention to. Hey, this guy from Magellan is really interesting. He is afraid of being despised by the people of our galaxy, but in terms of tactics, he also despises our galaxy. Is this called arrogance caused by inferiority? People with low self-esteem often tend to become arrogant because of their self-esteem. When they came to the Milky Way, they felt uncomfortable everywhere, and felt that the Magellanic Cloud was better everywhere, so they came up with the idea that the masters of the Milky Way were just like this. After that, they inevitably carried out a lot of seemingly brainless actions. For example, he went to snipe and kill his own ape clone, or he carried out assassinations of strong men in remote areas of the galaxy, and he never thought about assassinating people in the edge areas. It was just to alert the snake and let the real masters of the galaxy notice the clues. This is really. You deserve to be born in a small place. Their minds are as small as the tip of a needle as they were when they were born, and they don't act grandly. Jia Yan casually threw the brain chip he got into the cabinet. Although these guys are small-minded and don't have much ambition in doing things, they still know through the chip that their strength cannot be underestimated. At least to Jia Yan himself, it is a behemoth that exceeds the 5 major forces. After all, it is a collection of 2 companion galaxies. These 2 are just their front troops, and the real masters have not yet appeared. That being said, there must be some among them who are close to the top of the lower realm lords, which is quite scary to say the least. The problem of slow update of new chapters can be solved by. It's just that this ticket is not so easy to win. Since the holder of them stands out among many qualified people in the large and small Magellanic clouds, he must be very powerful, and there are bound to be people around him. There are a lot of experts guarding me. If I rashly attack them, the result will not be very good. The Magellanic people have been preparing for this promotion for too many years. Although it is their first time to enter the inner world, they have accumulated a lot of previous knowledge and have tried their best not to break into the inner world at the first time. World, which means that their probability of being noticed by other holders is greatly reduced. If Jia Yan wanted to attack them, it would be very difficult, and he could not borrow the power of any party yet. If he wanted to dominate things like admission tickets, the fewer people who knew about them, the better. Okay, let me see under what conditions this so-called holder will enter the inner world in person. As for the passage, I am afraid they have only discovered our place now. I think there are other places in the galaxy. There are also passages, but they are open and above board, and the only one that is easier to sneak into is the trade area. As long as I do a good job of early warning and investigation in the subspace, there is still a high probability of finding their traces. At least the 2 masters who fought before did not deceive Jia Yan and others. That is the top being in the subspace. He is truly the most powerful subspace being in the large and small Magellanic clouds. After losing this subspace power, the Magellanics of great and small could only bite the bullet and find a way to sneak into the passage of the trade zone, otherwise it would be extremely difficult to enter the other world. Or wait until the other world really borders the Milky Way, but by then, the competition among ticket holders has entered a fierce stage, and the daylilies have gone cold. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3361. So they are destined to sneak back in again in the near future. In this way, Jia Yan, who has already mastered many of their key situations, will have a greater probability of finding out their true identities. In fact, dear passengers, please note that the 1320th train bound for the other world is about to leave. Please bring your belongings and enter the carriages in order. In the trade area, several figures were quite eye-catching. However, no matter how huge it is only 5 or 6 kilometers away. Among the tourists coming and going, there are not many powerful people of this height. Everyone is at the star level or higher, and the strongest ones are at the galaxy level. Sir, did those two losers fail to reply? Did something unexpected happen? I suggest you choose an opportunity to enter the other world next time. A tall creature with a slightly ferocious expression quietly came to the side of the silver creature who seemed to be the smallest among the crowd. The creature shook his head, no need. If it's too late, it'll be too late. If we don't dare to go through this crisis, the fight for promotion qualifications in the world is destined to be bloody, and we will have no chance. Let's go. Yes. The creatures filed in one by one and entered the largest compartment of the train. Anyone with a discerning eye would be able to find that their bodies are deliberately compressed, at least dozens of times. Of course, none of the passengers on this train have such means, and the person pulling the cart is just an ordinary clone created by Jia Yan specifically to pull the cart. His actual combat power is probably not even the domain lord level, and his intelligence is even worse. They are lowly, and it is normal not to be able to see through their disguise. Is this the so-called trade zone? I just felt it, and it doesn't seem to be very powerful. One of the taller members whispered. The leader shook his head. If this trading area is what you think, it has been destroyed many times. Their background and true combat power are unknown. Those two guys are missing. Can we still not believe it? That's right, sir. I suggest you hide your body directly after passing by and leave the so-called Xiancheng boundary. Can consider it? This group of people hid very deep and blended into the Xiancheng area. Even Jia Yan and others were not alarmed. After sensing the ruins of the battle of the previous 2 days, they left with a solemn expression. In short, they are not seeking revenge, nor do they have any intention of immediately going against the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Before the promotion plan, no matter how bad the feud is, it is worth being forgiven. As for after the promotion is successful, it's hard to say. The premise is that they have to be promoted successfully. Lord Jia Yan, our intelligence team has been losing strength recently. I wonder if we can allocate some members of the army to serve as intelligence agents. No need, I'm afraid it will be difficult for the intelligence system to reach behind enemy lines as deep as before. The enemy is not a fool. Jia Yan is handling official duties. Although he didn't know that anyone was acting in Xian City, he could also expect this situation to happen. Even among the key suspects in several trains, there were the figures who entered Xiancheng before, but he did not choose to take any more actions. Because such a master cannot be provoked by King Yu. Jia Yan himself is also in a period of internal and external difficulties. It is not cost-effective to provoke a group of lunatics from the Magellanic Galaxy. Now he just hopes that the other party will not cause trouble. If he really wants to cause trouble, he can only choose to start the battle for admission tickets in advance. Like any strong man, he also longed for promotion and tickets, and even had the idea of robbing Senior Hai Tian in the past. But in the name of his daughter's master and Hai Tian who had helped him many times, he suppressed this desire forcibly. A real man would do something or not, and he would not do it unless it was a last resort. Of course, when it comes to a last resort situation, then, it's hard to say. Ahem. In short, Jia Yan has not launched a new battlefield plan yet. The current enemy alliance troops and the mysterious and invisible ones are really threatening Suankan's alien tickets. The threats from the holders are also hanging above his head like Shangfang's sword, and his main focus is still on this aspect. Even the intelligence forces have begun to shrink on a large scale recently. The enemy must have a very advanced commander system, and we are gradually losing our advantage. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce conquered large areas in one go because they had extremely advanced military systems and the support of various technological weapons. but if the enemy has something similar, their advantage will be gone. By then, let alone maintaining the initiative, even defense will be very difficult. It is true that the territory occupied by the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is too small. Resources and troops are far insufficient. This is a bit like Germany during World War II on Earth. It seemed extremely powerful. It was an invincible army in the world at that time, and its advantages were shocking. However, because of its small territory and scarce resources, they could not fight a protracted war. Once they were defeated, if it is involved in a protracted war, just like Germany in history, its advantages will gradually be equalized, and eventually it will evolve into a situation where the trees fall and the animals are scattered. The situation in Shenzhen is even worse than that of Germany during World War II. Of course, the technological equipment and tactical advantages of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce far exceeded Germany's original advantages over the Allies in the early battlefields. The Inner World Alliance is like the indigenous people, like the early Western colonial army on Earth. A few dozen people can kill tens of thousands of Indian troops like ducks. The early equipment advantage of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is even greater than that. If it weren't for the inner world, the individual's fighting power is appalling, and the entire island has long been captured. Unfortunately, these advantages are now slowly being lost. One thing that has long been certain is that there must be ticket holders behind the enemy alliance. They support one or two enemy forces, and use them after the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has launched various killer weapons. With the help of the minister's technical support, these coalition members were slowly turned into a force with certain technological combat capabilities. The intelligence system that was originally used by the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce began to be targeted by the enemy one after another, and now it has suffered heavy losses. Pass my order. From today on, our Chamber of Commerce will switch from offense to defense and focus on developing the defense system. Jia Yan issued the order. For a time, everyone at the top, middle and lower levels of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce system was in an uproar. In the territory of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, all members are complacent with the combat effectiveness of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce troops. Many people believe that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce can crush the enemy and save the people of the Dynasty Island. Some people who are a little unreasonable even think of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce overthrowing the dynasty in the future. The happy days of liberating the Imperial Island. But what happened to this order? The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will enter a defensive state starting today. Although a similar situation has been actually implemented in the past few months, the meaning of actually turning it into an order is completely different. This shows that the senior officials of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce have seen things that ordinary people have not seen, and that they are no longer enterprising. While those who were interested were surprised, they also thought of the many recent attacks and turmoil on Suanken's territory. For example, the battle between two masters from the Magellanic Galaxy a few days ago not only exposed the fact that the Galactic Chamber of Commerce has a shortage of masters, but also brought many demons and monsters to the surface. Countless spies were making trouble in Xian City, and there were rumors that even President Jia Yan's daughter, the little princess of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, would fall into the hands of the enemy. Fortunately, Lord Jia Yan took action personally to avoid this situation. So when I think about it carefully, this Galaxy Chamber of Commerce move is really not groundless. Under the increasingly turbulent rule of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, many people smelled danger, and the sensitive ones were even thinking of retreating. You must know that the so-called prosperity of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is based on its higher quality of life and relatively rapid upward momentum. If your momentum stops and your quality of life also decreases, then Shudayahusan is the only one. Result. After all, this force has only been rising for a few decades, and it has been even shorter than it has been in its current territory. How can the people's support be so strong? It's so easy to surrender. Dad, I'm going back. The next day, Jia Yan, who had just promulgated the defense policy, sent Jia Makiao away. The daughter was frightened. Even now, she is still having nightmares about being chased by masters that day. The good thing is that she is serious about practicing. She doesn't want to have to rely on the life-saving things her father gave her to run away in a panic the next time she encounters a similar situation. If she can resist 1 or 2 more attacks from the enemy, maybe the situation will not be so bad. Such a thrilling point. This was a good sign, and Jia Yan was very pleased. Well, when you go back, practice directly in the depths of the trade zone. Don't reveal your whereabouts to anyone. The trade zone is no longer safe, but it is better than the other world. Okay, by the way, do I want to pick them up, Mom? Your mother, forget it, even if you let her come, she can't give up on the affairs of the biochemical empire. I will send a clone to protect her. Just take care of yourself. If there is anything you don't understand in cultivation, please be open-minded. Please ask Kadisha or your latest senpai for advice. Do you understand? I understand, then I'm leaving. Dad, you have to take care of yourself and don't lose to them. How could your dad and I lose? Watching his daughter enter the train reluctantly, Jia Yan let out a sigh of relief. After the previous incident, it was impossible for him not to send his daughter away. As a weak point, Jia Yan loves this daughter more than his son and more than his grandchildren. After all, she is the daughter he legitimately gave birth to Satsuma Kong, and her status in Jia Yan's heart is definitely not low. Senior Haitian, last time you took action, I promised you a few things. Now go and implement them. Okay, I hope you can keep your promise. Hai Tian, who came to see him off, was very happy with Jia Yan. The things Jia Yan promised to Haitian included but were not limited to several relatively expensive and precious resources, as well as several knowledge vessels he collected in the mainland, and even included a rare object. 2 days ago, when he learned that his father had used so many items and asked his master to rescue him, Jia Makiao was shocked. He almost went to the master to argue with him, but was stopped by Jia Yan. In fact, these conditions were not proposed by Haitian on his own initiative, but were what Jia Yan said when he invited him to take action. As a former star thief, Haitian naturally doesn't care too much about the so-called master-disciple relationship without real benefits. It is very difficult for someone like him who has an admission ticket to take action. He is now the only thing he wanted to do was to hide his whereabouts, and it would be best if no one laid eyes on him. But Jia Yan gave too much. He had no choice but to go against his own heart and take action, of course, in name only to rescue his apprentice. It can be said that it is both fame and fortune. But from that day on, Jia Makiao became a little cold towards the master whom he loved so much. The girl was still too naive. After a while, Hai Tian greedily enjoyed the power of law on a strange leaf, and felt that the speed of progress had increased a lot. Senior Haitian, are you going to leave our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce next? Why did you leave? At least at this stage, your Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will be a good protector. Where can I go if I leave? Senior, since you enjoy the protection of our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, you can't enjoy all this in vain. I can still give you the similar materials you want, but you must do things for me. Doing something? I won't do ordinary things, but I don't want to get involved in anything too dangerous. So, what do you want me to do? Haitian chicken thief said. If you don't want to do it, if you don't want to do it, if it's ordinary, you won't want to do it if you don't want to do it. Doesn't this mean you are free rice? Jia Yan almost stabbed the opponent's body with anger. In fact, I found some clues from the relics of the dead Magellanic Galaxy expert. These clues point out that there are ticket holders in the Magellanic Galaxy, and their main choice to enter the other world is. It is my Xiancheng area. Originally, Hai Tian didn't care much about what Jia Yan said, but after listening to it, he became slightly moved. He was stunned, put down the leaf he was enjoying, and looked at Jia Yan with a strange look in his eyes. You mean, you also want admission tickets to Shiyuan? Jia Yan was very calm and nodded, yes, the opportunity to become stronger does not come easily. Why can't I fight for it? Hai Tian played with the leaves with his paws, thought for a while, shook his head and sighed, do you know what you are talking about? Your talent is very strong, but you are too young. Among ticket holders like us, I am afraid that most of them are more than 10 times your age. You may be very strong, but your experience and overall quality will never surpass us, so this ticket will most likely be useless even if you get it. And may even harm you. How will you know if you don't try? I don't want to wait tens of thousands of years for the next chance, because I probably won't live until then. Jia Yan's unwavering eyes met with Hai Tian's, causing the other person's expression to change again and again. This young man really looks like Hai Tian back in the day. Oh no, it seems that when every strong person is young, there will be a period of time when he is confident and brave, and does not believe in evil. Bai Yu. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin Yu. Chapter 3362. Damn it, this kid really thinks like this. Hai Tian almost wanted to curse. He was helpless and said with a bit of laughter and tears, okay, as long as you can continue to provide me with what I want, I will help you, but I can't help you too much. You know very well that it is not convenient for my identity to be exposed now. Without the support of forces behind them, those ticket holders are each assisted by the power of the galaxy itself. My old man can do it alone, let alone defeat other holders. Even if he can defeat them, he will not be able to defeat them. Under the human sea tactics, it is also a word of death. By the way, it also includes you. Don't think that your current power is strong enough. In front of other people's real galaxy-level forces, you, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, plus the Trade Zone, in addition, the entire Orion arm is not enough to beat me, so don't expose me. Don't expose yourself until you succeed in snatching it. In short, that's all. Whatever you want to do, come to me anytime, anywhere. I'm going to practice first. After saying this, the old man left in a swaggering manner. Jia Yan looked at his back, chewed on this man's words, and nodded involuntarily. Haitian's attitude was clear from the beginning. He did not want to get involved in entering Jia Yan's trade zone, and he would not put himself in crisis because of his conflict. It seems very snobbish, but these are the words of an upright person. It is better than the guy who makes promises in person but violates them behind the scenes. He also made his attitude clear, and I also made my needs clear to him, and then both parties can enter a relatively sincere communication stage. Not to mention that Jia Yan is not a ticket holder, there is no conflict of interest between the two parties. Even if Jia Yan wins a ticket, they can still become collaborators to a considerable extent before they officially get the opportunity. Everyone understands that the real trial is after winning the ticket, and it may still be a narrow escape. There are also many cooperations between those who win the ticket. After all, the possibility of both collaborators becoming promoted is almost infinite to zero. After all, Jia Yan hasn't gotten the ticket yet. Thinking so much is just unfounded worry. But my plan can't stop. Now the faceless creature has been taken away by people from the 5 major forces. I don't know if there are ticket holders behind the 5 major forces, or maybe someone among them has brought it in with them. Yes, but both parties can pose a threat to me, and now that their intelligence has become mutually shared, things are becoming quite unfavorable for me. Jia Yan was quite helpless when facing other people's alliances. He also wanted to find an alliance, but except for the mainland who pretended to be benevolent and found a few alliance partners similar to the Yin Ao forces, there was not even half an alliance with actual military significance. Maybe it's time to formally consider finding a true ally. He frowned. Shuang Hao, as the president and a personally recognized disciple, has always had a very high status in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Especially after several battles, the border army where Xuanghao was originally stationed became an army within the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce region. Due to capacity issues and status issues, he gradually became a marginalized military senior. It is equivalent to enjoying happiness. Good morning, Mr. Xuanghao. Good morning. Has your lady still wanted to eat tree snake eggs recently? The tree snake eggs we cultivated last time have increased in production again. If you don't mind, I'll give you some later. No, I can just use the ones I bought. Thank you very much. Xuanghao was walking in the city. The place that was originally named Border City was now given a new name, and the flow of people was gradually dispersed to other places, making it a typical cold city but full of fireworks. A few days ago, a TV station from Xiancheng interviewed the Xuanghao family and followed and filmed the daily life of the Xuanghao family. After getting the consent of Xuanghao, they put the daily life of the high-level people on the screen. It caused a great sensation and brought his family's reputation to its highest point. Not to mention the people in the city, everyone seems to know this tall giant celebrity. Return to the general's mansion. Dad, I want to go out and play today, okay? A little giant girl who was only 1,000 kilometers tall threw herself into the arms of the two lovers. Behind her is the wet nurse who is at her wit's end. After thanking the nanny, Xuanghao picked up their daughter and went to the backyard of their home. How are you doing, madam? The doctor said that my wife's body and bones are still in poor condition recently, and she needs a lot of precious medicinal materials for nutrition. Fortunately, her health has been saved, and her life is not in danger. That's good. Xuanghao let out a long sigh of relief. His wife was a female subordinate who had adventures and worked with him. During the wandering days, there were many sparks between the girl who was also a giant and him, so after he stabilized, he proposed to this giant girl and got married in the presence of Jia Yan himself. After giving birth to their daughter, the wife became very weak and could not go to the fields for more than an hour a day. Several years have passed and it's still the same. Husband, you are busy with official duties, so you don't need to come see me. How can that be done? My master has taught me that family and national affairs are equally important. If I forget about home because of other matters, he will come over and beat me up. It's more like what the president would say. Inside the house, a gentlewoman looked very happy. The little girl looked at her mother curiously. She had no idea that it was precisely because of her childbirth that her mother had a physical crisis. However, this is not her fault, because it was her parents who chose to give birth to her, not her who had no choice. General, I wonder if I can disturb you. Huh? Please come in. Xuanghao suddenly heard a voice coming from outside the door, and then his expression changed. He quickly stood up, handed his daughter to the nanny standing beside him, and then hurriedly walked out the door. However, before he could walk out, the visitor had already broken into his wife's ward. You. Xuanghao has a tendency to get angry. Don't be nervous, good generals. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'll leave as soon as I finish speaking. It's best if your lady is present. Xuanghao was startled. He didn't know why his terminally ill wife was needed to be present. The visitor entered the ward, looked at the woman lying on the bed, then looked at the nanny and the little princess of the general's mansion, and signaled to the nanny, who then walked out of the ward with the little girl in his arms. My lord, you are from Xiancheng, but you are so ignorant, I can also file a complaint with my master. Both good faces are a little ugly. He knew this visitor and had dealt with him more than once. The opponent is a policeman from Xiancheng, and he is a person in charge of internal affairs. Needless to say, his strength is beyond the realm lord level of Xuanghao. The outcome of the fight between the two is uncertain. Secondly, this person's background is too great, and many policemen are afraid of his appearance, because the other party is mainly responsible for official issues, corruption and administrative issues are all handled by him. It is said that he has undergone strict training from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Of top talents. At this time, he appeared in his own home and deliberately took his daughter's wet nurse away, leaving him and his wife behind. This gave both lovers bad thoughts. Good generals, you have worked hard for the Chamber of Commerce over the years. No, my little ability is nothing in the current Galaxy Merchant Guild army. Xuanghao shook his head. He was right. Back then, Xuanghao was still a conspicuous presence in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce's army, and he had made great achievements in battle. However, as the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce continued to recruit professional talents, and with the increasing number of newly trained military personnel, he, an unprofessional military executive, gradually became marginalized. I tried hard, but neither my personal strength nor my learning ability could keep up with the progress. In the end, I had to live on this original edge. Jing Cheng sat down and took up a vacant post. The so-called busy work was just a casual post assigned to him on weekdays. I'll keep the story short. Maybe you still don't know what your wife's status is. She? What kind of identity can she have? I advise you not to talk nonsense. Misfortune comes from mouthing this illusion, but my master always talks about it. Xuanghao felt a shock all over his body, but he did not show any expression on the surface. Instead, he interrupted the other party's words with words, and then pushed back with a secret threat. The woman lying on the bed smiled slightly. This gentlewoman no longer pretends to be anything. But her illness was not fake. Husband, that's all. Since you are able to find our home, you must have already confirmed my identity, so I will admit it openly. In fact, as early as that year, I was a person who was sent to my husband by a certain party. Spies, they even gave me an order. If your troops cannot restrain you, I can make my own decision anytime, anywhere, and assassinate you. You? What are you talking about? He looked at his wife fiercely, hoping that she wouldn't say anything more. Husband, but please believe me, my best friend has disappeared as early as that year. After that, my being with you and the children we gave birth to were all my personal decisions, but now, men wake up, I have to take responsibility for my concealment, so you don't have to worry about me anymore. The female giant looked at the visitor and said calmly, "Take me away." After hearing this, both of them became extremely vigilant and stood between the beds, not allowing anyone to touch even a finger on their wife. Xian Kangli is really enviable. In fact, I am not here to arrest you, but I need a piece of information from you, because the person behind you may be involved in the future of our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, so please don't hide anything. The Chamber of Commerce has already determined your current attitude and will not pursue you for other crimes. However, we need you to cooperate with us as much as possible. Madam, please don't make any mistakes. The woman didn't speak for a long time on the bed, and finally let out a deep sigh and spoke softly. As she explained everything, even Xuanghao nearby felt terrified and felt lucky. If it hadn't been for his wife, he might have been in many situations of life and death in the past many years. However, in secret and unseen places, his wife helped him resolve them. This is probably the reason the visitor mentioned not to investigate. In short, as the wife's last words came out, there was one less person in the ward. The investigating officer bowed politely to the general and his wife, and suddenly disappeared as if his body had disappeared. From now on, the general will still be the general who enjoys a higher reputation, and the general's wife will also be the real general's wife, and there will no longer be any spies keeping an eye on her. Madam, you have suffered. Husband, I am not bitter. You see, the adult just gave me a medicine. As long as I take it, I can stand up again and hug our daughter. Isn't this the best ending? Yes, yes, the best ending, Ha 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 ha. The couple cried and laughed, and even held their several-year-old daughter in their arms. The family of three immediately enjoyed themselves. This can be regarded as the best result achieved by Xuanghao, Jia Yan's first and only official disciple in the world. Sir, the matter with General Xuanghao has been dealt with, and the information obtained from there has been submitted. Well, you did a good job. There's nothing wrong with your mood, right? No. Neither the good general nor the general's wife reacted too violently. The whole process was handled peacefully. So you did a great job indeed. Please take some credit and I'll take a look at the information. Yes, I am resigning. In Suankan's office, Jia Yan personally studied the information he received from the general's wife. In fact, Jia Yan knew from the beginning that there was something wrong with Xuanghao's wife, but he never thought that the general's wife came from a place that he didn't know much about. Over the years, there have been many problems within Xiancheng, so he issued an order to hunt down spies with all his strength. In the end, after repeated investigations, Xuanghao, his wife who had been married for many years, was also traced out. Fortunately, the other party had already cut off contact with the upline, and the bookstore did not do much to convey bad information against the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Therefore, after thinking about it, Jia Yan finally decided to use his rights to suppress the matter. Go down. But the information on his people must be obtained. A spy from another ticket holder? But even she herself doesn't know where she came from, otherwise I would not let her survive. After reading the information, Jia Yan nodded without knowing what to do. Fortunately, this spy lady did not do too many evil things in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and did not produce too many negative consequences. This gave Jia Yan a reason to keep her, otherwise the master and apprentice might turn against each other. The ticket holder should have come from the opposite direction to the mainland. On the other side, more than twice the distance away, there is another large continent. It may not be as huge as the mainland, but its area is certainly not small. That's right, there is a ticket holder there who is infiltrating in this direction. He arranged spies so many years ago, which shows that the other party's control over that continent has reached an extremely exaggerated peak. Bye you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3363. After studying the information about his disciple's wife, Jia Yan peeled off the cocoon and judged part of the truth. Lan. This is an extremely powerful wielder from another land. Judging from the size of the territory it controls, the holder of this huge area is afraid that no one in the local area can compare with it. Of course, this does not mean that the holders on the mainland are not strong enough. After all, it is not yet the stage where they can exert all their strength. Under the Dark Forest Law, many holders maintain a similar philosophy to Haitian, which is to start taking action as late as possible, otherwise they may become a loser once exposed. Place. That one was really powerful. He was exposed early, but he still managed to control most of the rights in another large land area without making any noise. This kind of thing, you don't have to laugh at first. God knows how many people in the dark will target him because of his exposure. It is possible that he will be overthrown at every turn in the future. It's just that talking about whether the other party will be overthrown is not the main thing now. Lan. Jia Yan first needs to think about why the other party has targeted him so early. I'm sure that I didn't expose much at first, and my actions on this imperial island at that time were just a small fuss. It's so strange that someone took a fancy to my power so early and even sent spies here. For a moment, Jia Yan was a little confused about the situation. Without more accurate information from the other party, no judgment can be accurate. So he very wisely made another choice, sending an intelligence team to the opponent's territory in the opposite direction. It doesn't require them to be very successful, just to understand the general details of the powerful holder. Among the dispatched team, there were several young Earthlings who had been adjusted by Jia Yan to form their formation talents and eventually became masters of the formation. Lan. The characteristics of the human body on Earth have been gradually developed in terms of gathering intelligence, and they are indeed very fragrant. However, their strength is generally relatively weak, so they have to arrange a certain amount of guards, so the size of the team has to become huge and bloated in a chain reaction. If you ask me, this is just a vacation. The bosses didn't even explain what information they want us to find out. Besides, the place is too far away. It's farther than the mainland. Isn't it? Let's just treat it as a vacation. The young people on Earth live on the bow of a boat specially arranged for them, eating plenty of meat and fish every day, and enjoying the endless joy of travel. At this point, the small stature of the Earthlings is too easy to satisfy. Others can eat enough for them for a long time, and the place they live in is simple. If the giants slap it down, the Earthlings can build a giant. They come from the city, so it's not a big deal no matter how luxurious the houses built for them are. I heard that our mission this time was assigned by the president himself, so don't take it lightly, Lan. Is it issued by the president? Which president are you talking about? Vice President? Honorary President Huasiang? Or? Don't be surprised, I'm talking about the real president, Senior Mosquito Ancestor. Is it actually a mission personally assigned by Senior Mosquito Ancestor? You need to brace yourself for this. Ordinary intelligence tasks cannot be personally assigned by Senior Mosquito Ancestor, and he also named our Earthling intelligence team. Doing it shows that you trust us, and we cannot betray his trust. How else can we say that the people on Earth worship the Mosquito Ancestor? As soon as the main person in charge of the intelligence team said the word Mosquito Ancestor, all the members were in awe, and they were no longer in the mood to have fun. The status of the Mosquito Ancestor is too high. They have listened to the legendary events of the Mosquito Ancestor since they were young, and they have grown up by reciting the deeds of the Mosquito Ancestor several times to save the people on Earth. Who does not regard the Mosquito Ancestor as the most respected person? Seniors, I'm afraid they won't even be able to enter the other world. So these emotions are real too. Lan. The people on Earth cheered up, but their journey was quite long. This trip to another continent would set off a new storm, but now it was time to return to the Imperial Island. Jia Yan, it is said that there were some disturbances in your city a few days ago. Thank you for your concern, distinguished guest, but we have dealt with some clowns. Oh, I heard that the people who are against your Chamber of Commerce this time are a group of gurus. I didn't expect that your Chamber of Commerce has become so powerful that it doesn't even look down on a group of gurus. Haha, where did the rumors come into my ears? This matter is not true. Please don't take it to heart, ha ha ha. Jia Yan smiled and sent away a powerful master from the mainland. When it comes to the most trustworthy forces today, after thinking about it, it turns out that they are the forces from the coastal areas of the mainland. Lan. Jia Yan was a little dumbfounded. As soon as he heard that a new enemy had appeared in Xiancheng, the headquarters of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and Jia Yan personally took action, within a few days, experts from the mainland arrived. They are now inseparable from the products of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and are even afraid that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will cut off supply due to pressure. These guys don't know what dumping is. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce would not give up on the mainland market, but the relationship between the two parties was reversed, as if they were begging Jia Yan to let their products be dumped. In fact, it's almost like begging. If these guys have a chance, it's not that they can't call a few to come over to help. It's just that we can't let them know the truth about the holder, otherwise there will be complications. Lan. Jia Yan thought about this matter. He has suddenly become busy again these days. The battle outside Tianqian City a few days ago still caused a lot of shock. The entire Galaxy Chamber of Commerce was in a big or small mood because of this incident. And he wanted to reassure people before these emotions amplified, and it was best to minimize the impact of the incident. This is the task that the head of a powerful family must do every day. If he doesn't stand up, no one will be able to appease people's hearts. Recently, several forces suspected of being run by spies have been eliminated. There are also several officials whose origins are also very suspicious. Here is a form, please take a look. Huaxiang also felt quite haggard and handed over some information. Lan. Jia Yan looked at it carefully and finally shook his head with a wry smile. In addition to the list of spies who were investigated today, there are already as many as 1/10 of the officials in question in the entire Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and there may even be many more who have not been investigated. Many of these officials were secretly instigated to rebel after taking power. It can be seen that the methods used by the other party are quite skillful. If we continue to investigate further, I want to know the specific forces involved in secretly instigating rebellion in our bureaucracy. What should we do if the investigation comes out? What else can we do? Those who are easy to offend will be given a certain counterattack, while those who are not easy to offend can only turn a blind eye. This is. Huaxiang twisted her slim waist and left. Lan. Jia Yan continued to observe the list in his hand and tore the paper helplessly. The officials on this list have gradually moved to the top, and they are all officials trained locally in the other world. Not to mention that it is difficult for governance officials from the Milky Way to instigate rebellion, but that they are generally not as powerful as local officials in the world, and they do not know much about the local situation. Therefore, after reaching a certain level, they all go to the internal affairs bureaucracy. As for those who hold real power outside, most of them are responsible for local life without realizing it. Recent events have also reminded Jia Yan that it is best not to trust local life forms too much in the official system. They have the advantage of local people, but this is also a disadvantage. Countless people have taken advantage of this loophole and used coercion and inducement to develop them into spies. I have forgiven my good wife, but what about these? Have you forgiven them all? Impossible. Many of them have leaked confidential information of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to the outside world, and some have long used their identities as spies to seek wealth and murder. It is understood that this is to encourage other upright people to become spies. Lan. Therefore, Jia Yan immediately restricted the spread of the incident about the two good wives, essentially denying the existence of spies in his disciples' families, and then took harsh disciplinary action against other spies who were investigated. Such as killing, arresting and torture to extract confessions, incriminating the entire family, etc. In short, after a wave of actions, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce once again set off a bloody storm, people were panicked, and the overall strength plummeted. There are many problems not only in administration, but also in the army. Therefore, after rectification, the combat effectiveness of the army has also become weaker. As for the anti-dynasty coalition forces that originally signed the peace agreement, they were like sharks smelling something fishy. Several major forces all tentatively used various excuses to launch military operations against the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce border defense forces. For example, someone came to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce troops to ask for someone on the grounds that a certain soldier was missing. Another example was that they got lost, and several small troops entered the territory of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, or some troops were causing trouble at the border in the name of exercises, etc. In short, the sense of oppression once again came under the rule of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Lan. There is no way, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is really too weak. In comparison, even the imperial dynasty has gradually regained its vitality in the calmness of the past few decades. What I have to say is that in the past few decades, the dynasty has really been changing with each passing day. This is not talking about their development, but about politics. For decades, they have upheld the tradition that things must change after a while. Emperor. They were promoted when the emperor changed once a year. In the later period, it even changed once a month. The entire royal family changed from the direct line to the collateral line. The final exaggeration was that one time a royal family from the lineage 5 generations away was found to sit on the throne of God. I'm just asking you whether it's an exaggeration or not. Of course, all this was manipulated by ministers and various forces. However, the strange thing is that no one thought about overthrowing the royal family and sitting in that position. The dynasty is in such a mess that no one can be safe. Not only the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will not admit that other people sit on the throne of God, but even the enemies will not admit it. If you dare to seek to usurp the throne, they will dare to use this as an excuse to attack tomorrow. So until 10 years ago, the rulers of the dynasty had become toys and symbols. Lan. It wasn't until 10 years ago that a so-called distant relative who had long been part of the royal family came to power. He actually used unprecedented means to cleanse the entire dynasty inside and outside in a short time, and magically brought the dynasty back to life. Developed. 10 years was a short time for others, but after the new emperor secured his position, he revitalized the country and strengthened the military, and actually developed a greater wave of national strength. Now, the dynasty is no longer something that the enemy and the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce can underestimate. After all, he still firmly controls most of the territory of the Dynasty Island, and there is still a lingering Taishang in the country as a top deterrent, so the dynasty was once again booming. During the recent turmoil in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, the imperial court sent several letters to express condolences and concerns. Jia Yan thought about it, and finally decided to sneak over there to explain the matter. At the same time, he also decided to negotiate a major matter with the dynasty. As for the candidate for the envoy, it was naturally the ape clone who happened to be recuperating in the other world and had not had time to go out and take charge. Old friends. Lan. On this day, the guru-level power from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, the monkey envoy, came to the capital of the dynasty again. However, this country is not the capital of that country. As early as decades ago, because the capital was besieged for decades and the population was evacuated, the dynasty finally chose to move the country to the old capital at the request of the emperor at that time. It is said that the new emperor who requested to move the capital was the descendant of the loser who had competed with the orthodox royal bloodline for imperial power, which ultimately led to the relocation of the old capital. Senior Monkey Messenger, it is said that your elegance was the most outstanding in the main hall of the former capital back then. Now it seems that what you said is true. The ape clone met the new emperor in the Zindu Palace. He saw that the other person did not show the emperor's profile at all. Instead, he sincerely praised the scene when the ape clone went on a mission. How can I dare to be called a senior by the emperor in my humble body? Those past events are just passing by, but I am fascinated by the emperor's style. It seems that the future of the dynasty can be expected. Lan. During the meeting between the two, there was a heated exchange of words. The emperor, who had been firmly in the position of the new emperor for 10 years, actually made the ape clone look at him differently. Sure enough, a person from the dynasty who can save such a land cannot be a waste. I wonder why the monkey envoy came here this time. Some rumors must have spread to the imperial court in the past few days. The reason why I came here today is to explain this matter to the emperor. Secondly, I also wanted to pass on a piece of information to the emperor on behalf of the president. You, the enemy, has been acting strangely recently. Is there something wrong with the enemy? Just 4 words caused a huge change in the civil and military demeanor of the entire court. You know, what is the current dynasty most afraid of? Of course it was the enemy alliance that nearly destroyed the dynasty several times. Lan. Decades have passed, and the enemy army has almost digested the vast land they captured, and the resistance forces behind the enemy lines have almost disappeared. Moreover, after the current emperor abandoned the capital, surrenderers, and the people immediately opened the gates of the former capital. Dedicated the capital. So far, a large area of land around the old capital has been completely devoured by the enemy alliance. I thought that there would be no more wars in a few decades, but the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce actually received information, saying that there was something unusual going on. Master Monkey, I wonder what the scale of the abnormal movement you are talking about is. Some ministers couldn't help but intervene. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3364. You must know that if it is a small-scale fight, such as the kind where intelligence agents are discussing or chasing each other at the border, it is actually happening all the time. At most, there will only be occasional battles of 1,000 people level with this level of changes. Lan. The higher combat levels have not appeared for many years. And the dignified envoy of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce specially came to the capital of the new dynasty as an envoy. It was obvious that it was not because of a mere battle of thousands of people. The ape clone did not reply directly, but took a deep look at the new emperor with an unfamiliar face. The next nonsensical question was, let's not mention the content of the change for the moment. I wonder how Brother Kaizu has been doing recently. Huh, the new emperor's eyes became fierce. Kaizu is the biggest trump card of the entire dynasty. Because the founder's lifespan has long reached the end, there have been a steady stream of rumors about his death, which has led to the dynasty promulgating many laws and regulations in recent times. Privately discussing the founder is a serious crime, and it is even more likely to have serious consequences. Sentenced to death. Lan. But it is obvious that the laws of the dynasty cannot control the people of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. And as an ally, it is necessary to make your trump card as clear as possible. Otherwise, why would the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce join forces with you? Ancestor, let's do this. I will take the ambassador to meet with the ancestor. Okay. The ministers were watching with their noses in mind, and they did not dare to make even a single comment on the matter. In fact, most of the ministers don't know what happened to the founder today. Just know that the situation must be very bad. Lan. Several civil servants and generals in the field locked their eyes on the leaving emperor and the ape ambassador, and turned their eyes. They are spies from some quarters and have been infiltrating the dynasty for many years. Unfortunately, the current emperor is very cautious, and even the information about the founder has gradually become top secret, and they are not aware of it at all. Well, Brother Kaizu has passed away, right? Arriving at a deserted place, the ape clone looked at the distant hall behind him, then at the emperor leading him in front, and quietly opened the topic. Others may not know it, but when he entered the main hall, he deliberately felt it. There was no powerful atmosphere in the so-called retreat place of Kaizu. For a while, Jia Yan also had a lot of fluctuations in his heart. This dynasty's peerless master who had always been the mainstay disappeared unexpectedly. Senior Ambassador. Lan. The new emperor looked back with complicated eyes and sighed softly. Without even a small creature around, it would be impossible for the news to leak out. The founder has indeed passed away, but he has not passed away completely. He left behind a last resort before his death. Our royal family can still use the 3 unique strikes of the founder. After the 3 strikes, the dynasty no longer has any top power. 3 strikes. Jia Yan also shook his head. It's just 3 attacks. To put it bluntly, even if Kaizu's attack power is at its peak, it probably doesn't pose much of a threat. Not to mention himself, even this ape clone might not be able to kill with 3 strikes. Lan. Well, death is like a lamp going out. The founder of the dynasty has been in control for tens of thousands of years, and now he can barely survive. It can be regarded as the end of his dream for many years. It's just a pity that a generation of heroes died so unnoticed. It's time for your dynasty to introduce another generation of masters. Jia Yan looked at another aspect of the palace pointedly. Sure enough, it can't be hidden from the eyes of the senior ambassador. Kaizu left 2 years ago. Before leaving, he not only left behind the power of 3 strikes, but also passed on part of the power to my son. However, it takes a very long time to digest this part of the power. Time, whether I can still rely on this part of the power to cultivate into a peerless powerhouse, I don't know whether it will be successful, but at least it has left a chance for my dynasty and my royal family. The new emperor spoke in an organized manner, and his attitude was neither humble nor arrogant. But when the conversation changed, he added, I wonder if Senior can keep the secret for my dynasty. After all, now you and I share the same hatred. If we take over, if the war starts again, our royal family is willing to pay 3 more areas of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce's current territory as contract objects in order for your Chamber of Commerce to continue to cooperate. Neither I nor the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce behind me are people who like to gossip. Don't worry about keeping secrets. Go and see Brother Kaizu. The two took action again, and after millions of kilometers, they saw the founder who had already passed away. Lan. With his eyes closed, he still had the calm attitude of an emperor. For those who don't know, it will definitely be because he is still alive. Unfortunately, from the observation ability of the clone, it is found that it is basically an empty shell with no roots, and the soul inside has long since disappeared. That is to say, he is already dead. Seeing this, Jia Yan couldn't help but sigh again. The clone has no interaction with him, but the real body has fought with the founder several times, and when it comes to the dynasty, this person in charge has always been a hurdle that cannot be bypassed. Even if no one talks about the founder, but because of his intimidating power, the development of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has changed several times. Otherwise, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce might not even be established. Jia Yan's goal from the beginning was to eliminate the dynasty and replace it. Of course, that's just a possibility. Lan. In short, the old friend is dead. Using the common customs of the other world, he made a sacrifice to this old friend. The new emperor carefully removed the traces of the sacrifice, and then led the ape clone to where his prince was. Senior ambassador, this place is usually an important royal place. It will be difficult for the palace maids and eunuchs who enter this place to see the light of day again. This is to keep my son's secret secret. When we came to the very depths of the palace, we saw that the interior was not a luxurious royal atmosphere at all, but a large number of common practice items for practitioners, and there were many masters shuttled among them. There are so many masters and slaves, all serving one person. Father. Seeing the emperor who was accompanying the ape clone, a young royal who was almost 8,000 kilometers high stopped and respectfully stepped forward to salute, especially to the ape clone. Lan. This attitude is completely different from the treatment he received when he went to the old capital. Otherwise, it can be said that the dynasty has a new atmosphere. This family is completely different from the old royal family in the past. Since the prince recognizes me as a senior, a greeting gift is indispensable. Let's take this protective object. It can block the master's attack at the critical moment. Thank you, senior. The prince's face became ecstatic, and even the emperor himself looked surprised. Even the founders failed to leave behind such a treasure that could withstand the attack of the master, but this ambassador actually gave it to him. It is not that they doubt whether this matter can withstand the master's attack, but since it is the ape ambassador of Galaxy Shang, they still believe it. 3 points. After all, this man was already famous throughout the dynasty and fought alone. After passing several master levels, the weight of words is definitely different. The ape clone also observed the so-called prince, and sure enough, there was an aura in his body that did not belong to him, and it was very similar to the aura of the founder. Lan. It's not really about passing on the skills or anything like that, but it's about leaving the seeds behind. In ancient and modern times, there are not many examples of directly leaving energy to others, and the harm to the next generation is extremely great. The founder really understands this truth, so the power left behind is not so much power as just like the system. Jia Yan also pranked people several times to leave the system to help young people grow up. Although this kind of thing cannot be generalized, it is not very different. Come on, young man, I look forward to seeing you active on the battlefield of the strong in 1,000 or 2,000 years. The ape clone looked at the young prince kindly and nodded happily. Such a dynasty and royal family made him tend to form alliances. But Kaizu was dead, that is, dead. The dynasty's combat deterrence was greatly weakened, and he couldn't help but sigh again. It would be great if the dynasty could produce such a group of enlightened royals earlier. Lan. But without the chaos of the previous royal family, how could this group of royal family, whose bloodline is not very pure, be able to rise to power? Okay, let's go out and follow. I don't like what those ministers are doing, so let's talk here and find a quiet place. The ape clone said calmly. Senior, please come this way. The new emperor quickly led the way. He knows very well that the status of the current dynasty and the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is different from before, because they no longer have the founder, which means they no longer have a deterrent level of power. What's more, even if the dynasty had the founder period in the past, they may not be able to achieve top power in terms of power. To intimidate the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, after all, the then President Jia Yan had already fought against the founder, and the result was evenly matched. If it weren't for the dynasty's strong foundation and formidable resources and territorial depth, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce would have shit on their heads. Lan. Of course, it's almost done now, it just depends on the attitude of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Don't be nervous. Since the royal family trusts me so much, I will reciprocate the favor by maintaining the previous two attitudes. The forces of both you and I will surely develop steadily and orderly in the future. Jia Yan's first words gave the emperor a shot in the arm. However, since the founder has passed away, now inside and outside the dynasty may once again face the chance of destruction. I thought that the enemies that have been preparing to attack recently were caused by us, but now it seems that the founder is still here. The enemy has learned the news, so the emperor must have noticed the enemy's unusual movements, right? The new emperor nodded and said without sadness or joy, there has been some movement for a long time. In fact, more than half a month ago, there was a battle involving 10,000 people on the front line. Just for the sake of the peace of the country and the people, I concealed this battle report because that battle did not cause too many casualties, so the matter could be concealed. That's very similar to what our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has encountered recently, but the changes I'm talking about are more than just that. Let me reveal more of the world's reality to you. The ape clone went on a mission in person, so naturally he wouldn't just say this little thing. Lan. The real ambition required a lot of help from this partner, and even after seeing the fact that the founding ancestor was incarnation, he had more unworthy thoughts. Since the dynasty is so vast and rich in resources, and there are no intimidating masters, can the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce cooperate with it on another level? Could it even be that the two parties cooperating are not the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce and the dynasty, but Jia Yan personally and the royal family? After all, one of them needs a lot of resources, and the other needs the protection of an expert. Isn't it the effect of hitting it off right away? What, this ticket? An opportunity for promotion. After hearing the Arabian Nights information, the new emperor was completely confused. Lan. In other words, a little stiff. In fact, regarding the so-called extraterrestrial visitors, there is definitely a lot of information recorded in the royal family. However, because the capital has been changed, a large amount of information and historical facts from the previous one have been lost in the transfer process, even if they are still preserved. And didn't even have time to sort it out, let alone someone going over there to look for it. A dynasty's classics that are tens of thousands of years old are massive. Which emperor would be so full that he would rush to read the historical facts about visitors from outside the world? Wouldn't it be nice to have that time to deal with more government affairs and play the game of giving birth to a prince with a few concubines? Perhaps the dynasty had no clues about incidents such as admission tickets, but just because no one was organizing the information, they were kept in the dark. Yes, in fact, our Chamber of Commerce is also a hindsight, because we are not serious people who enter to seize opportunities. Of course, the original purpose is indeed opportunity, but we did not expect that the opportunity hidden behind it would be so. It's just so big. Then, why did Your Excellency the Ambassador tell this to this Emperor, Lan? The Emperor swallowed his saliva and asked with some difficulty. At that moment, he was also tempted. Although he didn't know what level the so-called above the Queen of the Realm or above the Guru belonged to, he could tell it was different from the ordinary. If their dynasty also had such a master, wouldn't it be possible for thousands of generations in the future to create a world that would be even greater than that of the founding father? A big inheritance. I'm just giving you a heads up. The world in the future will probably not be that of you and other local residents. If you don't find a true partner, you may not even know how to write the word dynasty. A naked threat. Tips. No, just coercion and inducement. The new emperor had already expected it. After Jia Yan said this, he quickly reacted and said, this dynasty wants to rely on Yin He Shang, no, to rely on President Jia Yan in the name of the senior. I wonder if the ambassador, senior, can get in touch with me, Lan. Children can be taught. The ape clone is so satisfied with the current new emperor that he can understand and ignite at the first word. The purpose of his trip was not to be accomplished in such a simple way. With the stinky, tough, and self-regarding attitude of the royal family in the past, it was impossible for them to admit that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce had a higher status, let alone the emperor himself. Need Jia Yan's protection? I didn't expect that the new emperor's lineage would really come out of his mouth, and he wouldn't have the dignity of the emperor at all. After all, it is a side bloodline of the original royal family. Your Majesty the Emperor, you must think clearly. If you take sides on this matter, it will not be changed in the future. In fact, those coalition forces that are fighting against our two forces are destined to have one or two holders standing behind them. Wait until when the time is right, they will definitely take action personally, and now they are fighting like this through agents, which shows what a thunder blow it will be if they take action personally. If you are on the wrong team now, there will be no hope in the future. Bye.